travel or from the child travel, either way you're rejected.
There's certain things that education system. I've seen I think the video was good. I don't like the when
Hey everybody, welcome to People in the Boxes. Today is Thursday, August 17th, and today is People in the Boxes number 57. Is group thinking always a bad thing? Most people fear the unknown. Let's talk about tribalism a little bit. It's a little topic that we came up with the other co-hosts today, and we thought it was worth a look. There's different definitions of tribalism. There's the good, and then there's the bad. And we're going to talk about all that tonight. What we're looking for is to have guests up, guys. We want to have you come up on screen tonight. And if anyone would like to have the link, all you got to do is just give us a shout, and we will give you that link. But without any further ado, let's bring up the other co-hosts tonight. We'll bring everybody up one by one. Here we have, of course, Waylon, Mr. Indoor Farmer himself. What's going on? Hey, everybody. How's it going? Next, we have Jason, Mr. 42710 Family.
Good day, everybody. What's up, brothers? How we doing?
Not bad, not bad. Next, we have Ross the Rhino, and I'm going to bring him up. Homegrown with Love. How's it going, bro? Yeah, looks like.
What's up, everybody?
And doing in order of appearance, we also have just Melanie herself, the star of the show. And the next we've got coming to the seat is Mr. Danny B, the Mushroom Man himself. How's everybody doing tonight?
What's going on?
That was a great intro, Steve.
Awesome intro, brother. Good job. Awesome idea too, Waylon.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's circulate it up a little bit. But I tell you what, the topic tonight, guys. I don't like to be tribal, guys, but we're going to look at good reasons for it. And speaking of which, in about less than 1 minute, let's all, speaking tribal, let's hit that 7:10 in the mountain time, guys. And right now it's 7:10. All right, let's hit it, guys. Cheers. Let's get this episode started off right.
Cheers. Here we go.
Let's show some good tribalism right now. Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing, tribalism, when you first hear about it,
What's up, colon.
The name, you don't really think about it too much, but then once you see the definition of tribalism, it's kind of like, you wouldn't believe the little tribes that we're all in together,
I totally went until I seen the definition today when we were in the meeting talking about it. I totally thought it was something meant almost different, more towards religion and things like that. Really leading towards that. And so I'm really interested in this topic and to hear people's opinions and experiences with it. And so definitely going to be a good one tonight.
Cheers,
Absolutely.
everybody. Cheers, Ashley. Cheers. Yeah,
Boy,
definitely. I got some good information pulled up, too. We can pull it up in a minute. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to ask how Melanie's doing out there in the heat, basically, desert-type heat where she's
Easy
at.
bake
How
oven.
you getting along?
Bean, all right, bro.
My phone says it's 117 right now.
Phew.
Can you hear me or no?
Yeah,
Off and on.
that's insane.
My phone's too.
It's probably going to overheat on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Alright,
we'll
got it.
send our well wishes to Melanie, guys, and hope that she can stay cooled off.
If she tries to
Absolutely.
come back, somebody remind me or somebody tell her if I forget, just do audio only because that is a lot less taxing on your phone if you're on StreamYard. It might work better. I don't know. Cheers, Stephanie. What's up, girl? What's up, everybody? Kenny Gold. What's up, bro? Ate a caramel apple walnut pie. All right. Well, we got Bean Dango coming up, and we got Kim
What's up,
Kim
Dean?
Maxwell coming up.
That sounds
I
delicious.
got you. Dean,
I already
I
got
got you.
I already got
you
it.
got it?
Yep.
All right.
Way ahead of it. Gotcha.
Oh, man.
Got him.
You're a great co-host,
115
buddy.
in Vegas. 115 in Vegas. You too,
Holy
man.
cow.
You too. So,
Let's see what I got
how's
here.
everybody doing? Guys, let us know how you're all doing. It's that week time. It's a week again, and we got all of us do different shows and stuff. So it's we all kind of catch up with each other on this show as well, too. It's like a weekly catch up with
71,
all of
just
us.
Central Illinois.
Yeah, it's not bad here. It was warmer earlier, but not even warm enough to break a sweat when I mowed the grass. So, not that bad. Actually, kind of.
Happy hippie.
Happy hippie stopping by in the house.
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
What's up,
Hi,
Stace?
Stacy.
Hi, Melanie.
Melanie, if you can hear me when you come back, try to just go audio only. It might be it's a lot easier on your phone that way. Stacy, what's up, girl?
I did.
We're gonna be talking tribalism tonight, guys. Definitely let us know if you want to come up. And I know the background's not quite. Illinois doesn't look quite like this yet, but it'll be here pretty soon, won't it? Right now, my background I got.
And we got
Hey.
Bean.
Hotel.
Another holiday this weekend.
What's up, Bean?
What's going on, beautiful strangers?
Okay, that looks like Bean.
He's got the
Okay, I
loud-
was gonna say, wait a minute, I see Kim down there. Wrong Bean. Hey, Bean.
What's going on?
Bring you down. Okay. There we go.
As always, guys, you're welcome to share or to link your pages and whatnot if you guys want to. This is a show for everybody, for sure.
Hey, Ronnie.
Connect my phone to radar or radiation.
Mr. Ronnie Corey, what's going on, Ronnie?
Brooklyn boys.
And Brooklyn Boys in the house, guys. And those of you who don't know, tap in with them. Those that you
What's up,
don't
Ronnie?
know, just tap in with them because they are
Yeah.
woo, some of
Absolutely.
the best products out there. Best products out there, guys.
I keep hearing good things. I'm gonna have to get a hold of them and try.
Oh, you have to, Rasta. Like, I almost contemplated
Definitely
shutting
worth
my
it.
whole everything down and just dealing with them, but I can't afford it. It was like I've been growing for 30 plus years, and when
Yeah.
I tapped in with them, it was just like, oh, okay, yeah.
I'm friends with Maddie.
It's,
I think I'm friends
it's
with
nice
Maddie
to just
G.
get that
so I'll
treat
get a
every
hold
now
of
and
them,
then.
man.
Yeah,
Isn't that Maddie G and Ronnie down there? That's our place with you? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get a hold of them. Get a hold of Maddie.
yeah. Matty G will definitely hook you up and do you right.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is an
Ronnie, I'll
interesting
probably
topic
send you
y'all
a friend
got
request
tonight.
too, if that's all right, bud.
What guys? One at a time. I couldn't hear either one of you.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting topic y'all got tonight.
You want us to raise our hand, Waylon?
Right. It must be if we got Bean up on the screen. You know, it's a rarity. You know. We also got Grassroots.
What's going on?
Cat, what's up, Cat? I haven't seen Kitty Cat in a while. Cat, if you want to talk about it.
Meow meow.
What's up?
Grassroots, what's up, buddy?
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Alan.
Hello.
Learned something new today.
Y'all
Didn't
doing
know your
good?
first name. Yep.
Doing well, man. Doing well. Dan came up with the topic tonight, guys, and appreciate that,
Oh,
Dan.
princess.
I'd
Wow,
actually like to
that's
hear
a
the
hard
definition because up until
Okay.
y'all said that you didn't know, like you thought differently about it until you heard the definition. Now I'm interested in what the actual definition is.
I got it. I'm pulling it up now so we can visually see it.
I just loaded the one earlier that was from Wikipedia, but it was a pretty good definition.
Oh, you sent me one?
Were
The
you
one
looking
I
up?
Chat earlier, the one
Oh, I see.
that described it. Yeah.
Is there's a difference between like tribal and tribalism?
Right. Tribalism.
Is this
The state or
state
fact
of being it?
of being organized in a tribe or tribes. That's just the like noun version of it, right? But we're not really talking about the noun version of it because we know there are actually still tribal people in the world. There's still tribes that are untouched by the rest of modern man. You know, they think planes are birds and things.
Look
There's
at
few of
the
them.
use over time for tribalism.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think
War
that's
II.
ism.
World War II is when it started to go up, and the Nazis.
You're right, Bean. The tribalism is where it changed. Sorry, Dan.
So I mean, your Nazis would be considered a form of tribalism because they were forming hate. So that's probably where it
Yeah.
started in 1944.
That's
The
the
ism more-
derogatory version. So
What's that?
It more refers to the
changed.
groupthink, doesn't it?
Look what right here, guys. The derogatory version or the derogatory definition: the behavior and attitudes that stem from strong loyalty to one's own tribe or social group, a society motivated by cultural tribalism. So yeah, it's a lot of cultural tribalism, but you can have that within any group, a religious group, a political group, you know, Facebook
Yeah.
group.
Any
Just
form
regions. Yeah.
of any form of genocide, I mean, would be kind of tribalism.
Hey, Waylon.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Waylon, can you do me a favor and can you compare tribalism with nationalism?
Nationalism.
Because it's along the
Okay.
lines from a government standpoint, or political science standpoint. It's kind of along the lines of nationalism as well.
Kim, you got a lot of wind there. Are you able to go inside?
Yeah, I'm just filling my buckets.
Oh, I see.
I just
Okay.
fed.
It's been windy everywhere today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will look it up, but I will say this. I would say nationalism is a subsect of tribalism because you have to be in a group to be a nationalist, and it's not always a bad thing. Like there's good and bad ways of of being nationalist. I think,
Right.
in my opinion. Let's look at the definition though, just because you asked here. Nationalism. There's actually, yeah, we're gonna stick with the isms. Definition of nationalism: identification with one's own nation and support of its interests. See, now that doesn't seem like this is the noun version anyway, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. That's where it becomes a negative, I think, in my opinion. Their nationalism is tempered by a desire to join the European Union. Yeah, well, that didn't work out too well, did it? Similar advocacy or support for the political independence of a particular nation or of people. Scottish nationalism. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of.
Waylon, do you see the word
crossover.
tribalism as a good word or a bad word? Because I'm interested because I actually see tribalism as a bad word, just from the things.
It definitely has negative connotations. Just like
I try to separate myself from tribalism because it kind of make your own individual self when you do.
I totally agree. I think we all have a tendency to join groups because there's a lot of survivability in groups. There's a lot of a difference in how we can interact because we have other people that can help. So when you're by yourself, it's inherently more dangerous. So tribalism
you have
is
to
like
find you have to find your way into certain tribes, but like individualism is paramount. You know what I mean? If you're not an individual, and it doesn't matter what tribe you're in, you're just going to follow the herd.
Right? I think, as you say, they're being with the individualism because a lot of with sports teams, You know, people get that tribalism with a sports team. They are true and blue. Only that sports team. It doesn't matter what they win, lose, indifferent. If they do something wrong, they are full blown into it. But then you get into another political party tribalism, you know. So it depends on how you perceive the definition. And like Dan said there, you know, do you see it as a good word or do you see it as a bad word? You know, how do you face it there?
I think the way that it's being pushed today, like when people refer to tribalism, they're talking about more of the political, like jumping into groupthink without thinking for yourself. Like you're just following the herd, and like it's normally a negative thing because obviously you're not thinking for yourself. A group can't be held responsible like an individual can. Like so, you're more likely to be radicalized and go off the deep end.
Bean, you got a little bit of static, bro. It might just be as easy as popping on and popping back. It's up to you. But did anybody else hear it?
Okay. Yeah, it's a little static.
I'm cutting out. So I agree with what he said though, because like the individualism is important. But what I would say is you can't be too individualistic. You can't be like what's the term? Anti-conformist. Like where no matter what it is. If it's a group of people tell me about it, I'm going to say no. Like I'm against every conforming about, you know, there are people out there who are just sort of, what's the word? Like they're just disagreeable or always constantly being antithetical to whatever the group wants to do. I don't necessarily think, I think that's sort of the extreme opposite. I think it's good to sort of be part of many tribes, you know, like that's why I don't like to pigeonhole myself as just a cannabis guy. I would love nothing more than for one of our co-hosts every week to be someone who doesn't even smoke cannabis, doesn't even look at it. It'd be great to get multiple people up here like that, you know, because that's how we broaden our tribe. Not
if you joined a white supremacist group, I would kind of think differently though, because you know, there's different kind of tribes that are kind of frowned upon. You know what I mean? So
yeah, cults and
cults and those are.
Yeah, I think his tribe is a little bit different. I think tribe is in your inner circle, those that are close to you, those that you give permission to speak into your life.
Yeah.
You know, so I can see tribalism as a negative connotation, but also in the same sense, you know, I always talk a lot about to my kids, hey, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. You know, so whatever you're putting off is going to be the same thing that the people around you are either putting off or want to receive. And so the importance of that inner circle is so huge. But I mean, you can swing it either way. But for me, you know, being an older father and, you know, having the new age kids now, it's to me, it's more of a positive thing to say that you've got and you can even call them a clique. We used to call them cliques back in the day, right? But I had a clique back in the day, but those were my guys, my fellows, my ride or dies, you know, and I think we need ride or dies in our life sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, the term tribe has. Go ahead, Ross.
I think, like Waylon said at the beginning, you know, the tribe is. I think of it as a positive noun, but tribalism is like a negative, derogatory adjective or adverb.
Yeah,
you know, because
I think what Alan just pointed out was the difference between tribal and tribalism.
Yeah,
because it's okay. It's good to be tribal. It's good to have your tribe, but the ism is when it takes over your mind and now you're not having your own thoughts.
Well, that's where it turns into cultism also.
Yeah. I think someone just said it earlier. You put that ISM on the back
together right there.
Yeah, it's when you become part of a group and that's your identity. And
right. You're a kin and a clan with a tribal, but with a cult, you're more religious following. Yeah. So.
Well, when I think of the term tribe, the first thing that kind of comes to mind for me is the Native American connotation to where tribe was family. And couldn't we also take the definition further to consider that, you know, your tribe is also your family?
Yeah.
Or vice versa? You know?
Well, that's what this one says here. Is the key difference between tribalism and cultism is that the tribe is a tribal lifestyle or extended group of kin or blood relatives, clan with common ancestry or common goals. You know, so that's where that came in. And
Yeah,
then it says
thriving
that
clan, they go
occultism
hand in
is
hand.
a social or religious group whose beliefs are individualistic. Yeah,
Charlene saying
so
50
that's not a
stars.
social goal. That's one person that says, this is the way it is. I'm brainwashing you. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
Charlene
it
with the
becomes
50
that,
stars.
when a brainwashing or
Charlene.
people get hurt physically or mentally, then that's where it becomes the negative.
Yeah, you're right, Rasta.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't see anything
I'm
wrong
not
with
going to
tribe.
lie. I stand behind my tribe 150%. The 42710 family is my tribe, and I stand behind them 150%. You know, it's somebody better prove it to me that it was totally wrong. You know, I'll go to bat. It's just the way it is.
Isn't it amazing how something like cannabis and the cannabis community has made us so loving and protective over each other, and we don't even haven't even shook each other's hands. But I know all day long that I would go to bat for Sir Steve-O for anything that he would need. You know what I mean?
100%.
Just amazing, man.
Back at you, man. I feel the same way. Thank you. And for all you guys.
But at the same time, this is a bunch of individuals that don't exactly have the same exact path and the same mindset. As we all come together for one cause, and we find something within each other that we appreciate. Like, it's not really the whole, like, the definition goes back to like the group think and all that stuff, like where you're moving towards one goal or something like that. Everybody's got the same goal in mind. I mean, we all do got cannabis, and like, I know everybody's pretty much into the get rid of the pharmaceuticals, replace with cannabis and all this. So we do have some of the same goals in mind. But it's still about thinkers coming together.
You know, the mental health was the huge original goal with mine. It's just plain and simple, getting us together to let everybody realize that you're not alone. And cannabis shouldn't have been shunned. And there was so many people that were shunned because of cannabis. And, you know, bring it to the limelight, bring it to the forth, you know, have people right up on screen and showing people. Like, my first time on screen, I got a phone call from people that I went to church with, and it's like, you're smoking crack on TV? No, I'm not smoking crack on TV. Oh, I seen that stone. I seen you light that with a blowtorch. No, that is not crack, y'all. People need to be educated, you know.
Oh, man.
So it was one of them things.
Look, some of us had a hard time even letting ourselves use a torch. All right, I'm just gonna say it was you know, we had to talk ourselves into it because the torch was not for marijuana back in the day.
When I first started streaming, I was like very hesitant to bring the torch on screen.
Oh yeah, but there's people sitting here drinking bottle after bottle after bottle with no problem at all.
This is non-alcoholic, by the way, in case anybody wants to judge me. Non-alcoholic, just so you know.
Bro, I actually stopped the show Tuesday. Steve-O will back me up. I stopped the show to pause the video from the event I went to, because at this event at a local civic center, indoors, a free event for kids, art, science, music, there's a bar set up in the middle, a temporary bar. And I'm like, this is all good. This here is all good in the tribe of the norm right now of this country, at least. Alcohol, no problem.
Kids
Dad,
everywhere.
mom,
You can't light a
get
joint,
liquored
though.
up and then drive off. But yeah, you can't. Their cannabis would be looked down upon, and all
got
these
you,
different
Becca.
so. But yeah, it's just funny.
If you look throughout history, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right.
And that's what it is. You know, we talk about different generations. The older folks, they won't touch it because it's not legal. The second it becomes legal, they're all smoking it. They're all using CBD or gummies. You know what I mean? And it's like the second it's legal.
They allow
Yeah, a lot of them. No, but a lot of them, yeah, it's the morality. That's illegal. You know, and it's like,
and it goes even further because the ones that have been doing it the whole time and they still hide it. They still have the stigma where like they can't be seen or they can't be known of being connected to this thing that's now legal. Even those people that used to say, "Oh, well, if it was legal, and then now it's illegal, so their brains are like, I don't know I can't back this publicly because I've always been hiding it, you know. Here I am, like, fuck it, let's see it. What's up?
Dude, my dad was he was completely against weed my whole life, and he needs something for pain now, so he just started doing edibles, and that he turned from like proper talking to whatever. Like I went to visit 2 weekends ago. He sounds like a straight stoner. He's like, I love this stuff, man. This stuff is awesome. Where have you been all my life?
It's a miracle drug, dude.
See, my kids say I turned into a big hippie and smoked pot and all this. I've always smoked pot. I just don't hide it now. Okay?
Yeah.
I just don't fucking hide it at all anywhere. I'm just, You
See, I always hung out with the younger generation that just didn't give a shit if they were smoking it or not in public. So we were going to get in trouble because, in VA, it's all legal now. But back in the day, you get caught with anything, you're going to jail. So
yeah.
Well, this may surprise some of you, but I was never I was kind of a straight-laced goody. Didn't think anything of it. I was like, what?
No.
No way.
Not you.
You're driving a vehicle? And so the cannabis was something I was happy to hide. That was the only thing that,
Shocker.
I was thinking around about.
We've all just learned something amazing about Waylon.
The only reason he started smoking is because it was something he could add to his garden.
Probably. He's like, that's something else I can grow.
You're right. Look at some of our birthday party photos, though, from when we were kids, our parents and relatives. If you look in the background of them photos, somebody's passing a joint. They're sitting right over the top of the cake while you're blowing out the fucking candles. And
I didn't have that kind of party.
Set of hemos.
My dad was growing shit in my closet when I was 5.
Right. I was delivering it for my family before I knew what it was. It was, take this down the road to John. He's going to give you some money and bring it back. Okay.
Yeah.
He's in my old.
To bring it back to the topic, like that's the thing. These people that have for years thought, "Oh, I'm not part of that group of dirty stoners," whatever it is they think of.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's legal. Now it's legal, so it's like they don't know what to think. They're like, "Hold on, I'm hanging on to my tribe." Like, guys, I had like 50 reactions on a comment I made on Post Malone's random post. Post Malone, he's got his like Daisy Dukes on. He's got his leg up. He's got a cigarette in one hand, and he goes, "Yo, I'm about to release this, whatever." And he's like, "Guys, I'll come hang out with me live when I do it. Grab a cold one and this and that." And so I commented, I was like, put down the cold one and put down that cigarette too, and grab a dab or maybe roll up a nice joint. I had over 50 reactions. It was like, bro, you're right there on screen showing something that's like one of the most deadly things to like make it cool still. Like, are you for real, bro?
A lot of people don't think of those things as bad. The alcohol drives me crazy. Like you said with the kids stuff, that drives me crazy. And then, like, if you're being an advocate for marijuana, cannabis, alcohol should not be present. I just think they should need, unless you're just doing like, it's a party. So it's a party now. We have alcohol. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was so weird at an event where there was no food, there was no nothing else, or indoors, and there's this random bar set up. Like, woo!
Yeah.
Grandpa's cough syrup still here.
That's how they paid for the place.
There's kids playing violins over here, dancing, doing like ribbon dances, and then kids working robots and things and drawing awesome paintings. Oh, gotta have alcohol involved with that, like what the fuck?
Right.
I don't
Jump
mind.
back to it again.
I drank back in the day when Chuck E. Cheese started serving wine and beer, and I was happy as fuck. I was like, yeah, I can have wine while he fucking goes in the balls.
Now a week doesn't go by that there's not a big brawl at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Now it's, if I can't smoke, I'm not going. Sorry. If I can't smoke while I'm there, or go outside, or you're going to be pissed off that I take a smoke break. Sorry, chances are I'm not going.
I just thought about it. So,
see, that's how I feel about things.
I mean, if you get pissed off that I'm carrying my Luca Bear around, but you got a cigarette and a bottle in your hand, like, come on, can't do it.
Yeah, I think stoners are probably one of the least tribal people. Because, so you know how growing up, like y'all were talking about cliques and all that stuff. So you always had like the jocks hang out with the jocks, the goths hang out with the goths, the skaters hang out with the skaters.
Dirty hippies.
Who did the stoners hang out with?
The stoners. Yeah, we're alone. They're
Everybody.
alone in the corner.
But we hung out with
by
everybody
ourselves.
because everybody needed some
That's
weed.
true. That's true.
Everybody
That's
was-
true. I did know.
everybody
Yeah.
was the stoners. I didn't have no enemies
That is
growing
true.
up because I smoked weed.
Just say that, Dan. It's
I died
also
a
where the
couple times in the
national.
field.
It's also they also have huge deals with brewers distributing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to get more
into
into the
why they're
topic.
selling it. I'm just saying that those
They
are
have
the
some-
same people that would look down on cannabis at their event. Is my point.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
my
they have
point.
they have the big
They're
St.
making
Jude
money, I
Nationals
get
run
that.
there.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure they
the
make
big
tons of
St.
money.
Jude National run here. They have like 30 cities running into Peoria, and they serve alcohol at that event as well.
Well, I think a lot of times they serve alcohol at events because alcohol used to be the mainstay, but now more people are smoking cannabis, have their own units, they're pocketable, they're transportable. I think more people are leaving the, hey, I'm here, so I'm a partier. I'm going to just go ahead and get some beer while I'm here. Now it's more of, I'd rather smoke cannabis. I don't even want anything to drink, you know?
Well, the booze is how the venue pays the bills. Like, it's, if it wasn't
I
for
get
the
that,
booze,
but
a
they
lot
could
of these
pay the
venues-
bills with cannabis. They could do that with. My point is, one of those two things kills way more people than the other one. That's all. That's my whole. Like that's where I land.
Facts right there, yeah.
Drink alcohol.
But how
here
would you
and
do it with it? They got rid of the smoking one for the flame retardant. Like they didn't want
Right, the indoors.
Yeah,
They can sell
indoors is
edibles.
the tough one.
have an edible spot. You know, sell me a drink. You know, sell me a
Infused soda
drink.
or yeah.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the casinos too. You have a smoking area and a non-smoking area, you know, in certain casinos. So you could have smoking areas and things. But
And some events do like the beer garden where you're not allowed to drink outside. They could do like a bud
Outside
garden.
of there.
yeah, we here in Michigan, we do have venues that have smoking tents. We have adapted that definitely, especially at our outdoor alcohol events and outdoor concerts and things. They will put up a smoking tent for recreational and medical use now.
We put up a
just have
smoking
to
tent,
get the
but that's
license
because that's
for it.
where you have to be to smoke your cigarettes.
Yep.
They don't fucking allow anything else here in California. Fuck.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a
Oh, I
question.
can't even imagine.
Do you guys think that America is still a quote melting pot?
Of course.
I think it is, but I think the aspect of melting pot seems to be getting lost.
Right. So
this is not a country of white people, you know.
Yeah.
And I can't even.
So my point is, there's a lot of people that say it's no longer a melting pot, more like a hodgepodge of different cultures shoved together, and we're not necessarily homogenizing, or we're not necessarily merging these cultures anymore. We're more or less going, okay, well, I'm going to just take this little corner over here. You're going to take that corner. You know, we're just gonna, and it just keeps getting. We go through cycles, though. I think as people, but there's a cycle.
I don't know. I think
Immigrants
that's
came
more of
over
what
here. They were
you see on
excited to
TV.
come to America, and they wanted to acclimatize to America. Okay, and they understood that they were American citizens, and then their home country was now second. And you don't have that mentality going on, I think, a lot now.
Things have something has changed a little bit, and some of that maybe to Kim's point from earlier. I think maybe we've lost a little bit of that good nationalism, the nationalism that was like inviting to people because they wanted them to assimilate, not inviting people just to look good, not just say, oh, look at the number of people that we invite here, right? It wasn't about that. It was like, let's invite them in because we want them to be part of this awesome thing too. That part's gone. It's not like that anymore. Oh well.
Well, assimilation's not a priority anymore.
There's been a big movement throughout the United States amongst what have traditionally been called minority cultures to kind of throw off that acculturation and to, I don't know what the word is, to really go back to their origins. You know, I've seen that. I live in an area where we have a lot of Native American tribes, and I come from New Mexico, like has a long, strong history of these Native tribes fighting off Europeans, you know, and that's been since the Spanish came in the 1400s to this date.
Yeah.
You know, Geronimo's stronghold was here in my area where I live at. And so we're starting to see a lot of people, I think.
And see, that's where it gets a little bit different, because we had Native Americans here in America, and the atrocities and everything that Europeans did to them. How did, you know, everybody, I just got the words for it. It's too much.
And that's why we have so many casinos here in California, because we have they're all Indian reservations. They have their own property now. They have everything. You know, I was at one the other day that has their own dispo. I think that's fucking amazing.
Right. It is.
And
Well, with the
so
Homestead Act,
they've ended up.
pushed
We've had to give them their land back. You know.
with that Homestead Act, they got pushed out of their area. You know, it's truly
Every casino here in California. That's why we can smoke and drink in there, because it's Indian reservation. Every single one. And I've got 10 within a half an hour from me. I mean, they're everywhere.
We need to party out there.
they make $1 million a year. Just
I do go quite often, but we're not talking about that.
We wonder why she goes. Like, I have one that's close by. It's like, you know, it gets old after 5 minutes.
I got Hard Rock 30 minutes from me, so I've got a Hard Rock casino like right here. It's. I mean, yeah.
So with
There's
this
quite
whole
a few.
This whole thing with the Native Americans, you know, because one of my very closest friends, she's a Inde, which is what we now call, what Europeans call Apache. They're the Inde people.
India? How do you say it?
I-N-D-E.
Oh.
It's either I-N, sometimes it's E-N, but most usually it's I-N-D-E-H. Inde.
Oh wow, Inde. Okay. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's not common because, you know, everybody calls them Apache. But, you know, they don't have their Warm Springs Inde, and they don't have tribal recognition. They're working on currently trying to get it, because when everything happened with Geronimo, you know, the native people, the Native Americans subsumed in with the Mexican culture. And that was their way of maintaining their freedom without being forced onto reservations, because at that time, many of those people were forced onto reservations. But one of the things that she brings up is that, you know, they lost their tribal lands. Even the lands that they maintained through the Homestead Act at some point got taken away. Like with her family's example was the father passed away and they didn't know that they had to pay taxes. And so the government,
That's rough.
Take over?
They garnished?
Appropriated?
Well, they didn't, you know, when you don't pay your taxes, your property taxes, you know, the government.
They seized?
Yeah, they seized the land
Yeah.
and then they gave it out to, you know, settlers or whatever. And that's how they lost their land. So many of these people lost their tribal lands and they didn't really have homes, and they were forced into reservations with people that weren't necessarily like-minded to their particular tribes and stuff like that. You know, and I think about this a great deal because a lot of them want their land back. And it's like, well, how do you put that genie back in the bottle?
How would you do that? Yeah.
You know, it's like.
But here's the thing that's happening right now, real time. All that place that burned up over there in Maui, them land developers and people are trying to grab that from
They
them.
are.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of those native people are
pissed. That
pissed.
land.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still like the islanders' land. And
yeah, well, there's actually a rule in Hawaii for certain parts of the land that you have to be from there. Your family has to be born and bred from there, etc., before you can even own property.
Doesn't your like your DNA has to be a specific amount, right? Like a certain amount of.
That's called quantum.
Tribe. Okay.
That's called quantum. And so, you know, the thing is that that's how in the past, they've quantified, you know,
how much you get, right?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
the government doesn't really give them money, you know, but
they get benefits and stuff. Yeah.
Well, yes, it's how you prove your citizenship, I think, to qualify for living on the reservation and, you know, whatever that entails, because every reservation is different. But, you know, the thing is that we now have DNA, and people can prove if you're a Mexican, you know, I teach this, I teach world history. And, you know, I tell my kids, how do you get a Mexican? What makes you a Mexican? What is a Mexican? Well, a Mexican is a person, a family that comes from the mixture of the Spanish and the Native American. There were many, many Native American tribes here when the Spaniards came in. And so that's how the Mexican culture was formed. That's how many of the Latino or Hispanic cultures formed was the mixture of the Spanish and the Native American, you know. And so I think that anybody, honestly, I don't think that there should be a quantum for it. I think it's anybody that's got Native American blood is automatically Native American, whether they recognize that or not.
Even Elizabeth Warren?
I knew it. I was waiting for the icebreaker there. I knew it was coming.
1064th Native American. Listen, she should have her own reservation, I think.
That's something.
No, like this is the problem, guys. This is the problem with reparations, and you guys might not like me for this, but how far? That's my question.
Yeah.
How far back? We go 1,000 years back. Well, man, there's a lot of people that.
Right.
We go only 50 years back, 200 years, like 6,000. Let's go 12,000 years back, and let's go to let's go to Göbekli Tepe, and let's unbury that city for them because it was buried under rubble, and you know, because they need help, you know, now.
Like, I see what you're doing there.
Every piece of land in history has been taken from another group of people. Like, that's just how history
Yes,
that
it
is the more traditional.
It is, and I teach that. But here's the thing: do not tell that to a Native American person or one of these, you know, people that is being systematically discriminated against because of their culture, because they're going to come back and say, "We're tired of that answer. We want answers that don't brush off."
But honestly, I'd go a little more in depth with it and actually just discuss the deals and treaties that were made with them and all that stuff. But like, it's not even that. It's like that. Yeah, that's just how history works, and there's winners and there's losers, and it's so cruel for me to say that. But like that if you look at any civilization, like I said, this land will eventually be taken from us too.
I agree. I think, you know, we're in danger of having the Russians or the Chinese taking over. I fear for our democracy every day. I mean, it terrifies me looking at some of these kids that we're graduating. We're graduating a lot of idiots right now. And I don't mean that, you know, I'm serious when I say that.
It's bad.
You know, it's ridiculous. I teach high school, and it's just, it blows me away the level of work ethic that doesn't exist in the ignorance. And they don't care. They're self-centered and egotistical and, you know, have no regard for anybody but their own whatever.
Well, how can they listen to you when they have a brain in their pocket?
Yeah.
And
they don't care. Right. I mean, there's just, it's frightening to me, you know.
It is frightening.
It shouldn't be, though, because it's a cycle. It's a natural cycle. The fourth turning, and also the cycle of the way that we've made it so easy for them. It's made soft people in general.
The no student left behind screwed everything.
Could you classify them as tribalism, the younger generation that are so hell bent on like feelings and, you know, how I feel and all that stuff? Because I'm from a different, you know, cut of cloth. So, I mean, would that be a tribalism because of what they do as a group, or what?
I wonder about that.
Culture, cultural tribe, because it's not every young person. They're actually the Zenny, not what is it? The Z. What's Z? The new.
Generation Z.
Yeah, but they're calling it something. Maybe Gen Z. Yeah, that's all it is. But they are skewing more conservative because they're the millennials and Generation X. we're going so much that way, grassroots. So it's funny. It's like it's a cycle and it's a pendulum in my opinion. Like we always this is a little off topic, but I was watching a podcast about grooming, that how this whole connotation about the people against how any sort of sexual grooming. But the point was made that everyone actually wants to groom kids. We want to groom them in the way that our ideals, our virtues, our whatever, our culture, right, our thoughts and our things. So it's just all in how you word it. So to your point, like the tribe of that culture, they are sort of feeding into that idea of we can all get a trophy, we can all, like, that whole thing was a big deal. Like when I was growing up, I was part of the first group of soldiers to go through basic training with half of my unit was female in basic. So you're thinking of like kids in high school, half male, half female is the first time. And they were trying to do those like the wussy cards where it was like, if you felt like you were being yelled at too much, you could throw the drill sergeant a card and he'd have to stop yelling at you and things like that. Yeah.
Right? That's freaking
I never got those.
No way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you could like stand out for a minute.
That's a real thing.
That's gone now.
No, you're shitting me, right, Waylon? Are you fucking with me?
No, man. Rasta, Dan, you guys remember this, right? You guys, anybody else in the military out there?
I was in the military. We didn't get the pussy cards.
It didn't last long. They didn't last long.
I was Air Force. Like, everybody picks on Air Force, and we're
that was your wussy card.
We didn't
no.
when I was in.
A stress card, they called it. A stress card. Yeah.
I went through, and the TAs would find the training, and TIs would find the tallest person, the tallest male in the freaking flight, and they would get up in their face and yell at him, and the guy would piss his pants. That's what I went through.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a little older than you guys too.
Right.
So.
My point is, like, it goes through that cycle where you go, okay, we've gone too far, and that. And I think we're winning. I think the culture that you're talking about, grassroots, I think it's slowly being sort of found to be like just with no solid base. Like you can't go on that forever where you want all children to be completely confused about who they are, what they are, where they are, like what they are going to do in life. That whole thing is just crumbling. And we're finding that it's starting to win back. We talked about gun control not too long ago, where most of us think, man, they're banning all this stuff, right? But then you look at it on the back end, and a majority of the states are actually opening up to open carry and other sort of laws. So some of these things where we think, because the media is making us think, oh, man, our kids are lost today. And Kim, to your point, a lot of kids are coming out of school not smart, but some kids are skipping that. And they're going to do their own things. They're becoming big online. They're becoming, creating things on their own. So I'm seeing a little bit of hope in that sometimes you find a way around the system. So we see that with technology. You remember when Uber first came out or DoorDash first came out and stuff, they found a new technology because Uber didn't have to compete with taxi companies because they were classified as a different thing. And that was how they got around all the red tape that had been stacking up in the taxi industry for so many years. And it's similar with a lot of things. Like kids are finding ways around stuff, man. It's
I mean, even more simpler if you think about it. Like back in the 60s, they used to wear the baggy pants and, the flower T-shirts, and it was peace, love, and harmony. And then my generation, we didn't have so much of that. We kind of joked mom and dad about wearing platforms, right? But now you've got my daughter, who is now 22, my oldest, and she's wearing those types of clothes and loves being that flower child and loves wearing sunflowers. And, it's like, that's a simple example of how it just kind of ebb and flows with time. It just depends on who you're with and who you're around.
One of the things that I use the ways that I think about kind of the movement that's going on with today's young people is it's kind of a counterculture kind of a thing. And a lot of it's driven by stuff that they see on social media.
Got an echo.
Sorry.
Guys, I want to point out that we got Smashley up here. Thanks, Smashley, for coming up.
No worries. I'm just listening.
Stevo was nice enough to pull you up, and he's probably hanging out. He's back there. Hi, Stevo. Appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
Let's get Ashley in here, and let's see if somebody wants to let Steve-O back up. And if
I'll
anybody
let-
else
I'll drop
wants,
back in,
okay, if anyone wants up from the comments, let us know too, because this is the first time I think that we've actually got to the point where we can rotate people in and out. Jason, have we ever had an episode where we were maybe one or two other times where we've
one or two other times? That's it.
That's pretty
But
cool.
yeah, you can put me in the back room anytime. Don't worry about it.
Well,
Yeah, same
let's
with me, brother.
we'll talk about that
I heard you
privately.
guys mention something about
Is that what you call it? Your back room?
God,
Why
I
not,
need to,
right?
oh man, I need to get that
So-
sound effect. I need the drum sound
I
effect.
didn't know I was back. Hey,
I will need to switch phones because I have 10% left on this one. So if there is someone else that wants to jump up, let me know while I'm switching. But
It's okay, Michael.
Oh.
There's no link because we're full.
I got a
I'll
quick
send you the link.
question for the moms on the screen and in the comments. You go to fight battle for your kids no matter what. They
God,
are
lift
the
the car.
first people in your tribe, right? Am I right? Am I wrong? Dads too. Your kids are no matter what. You go to fucking bat for them, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, and then you teach them
wait,
what.
not
Wait,
necessarily.
okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Always.
If I know my son's in the wrong, I'm not. No, I'm going to teach him right. I'm not
Well,
going
I
to go.
think it's more
You
you
know what I
stand
mean?
by them no matter what. Like, 'cause,
I will
yeah,
stand by him
you
no
hurt
matter
somebody-
what. However, you
you
know,
hurt
like if
somebody,
he's
that
in the
doesn't
wrong, I'm.
extra. But I'm
Yeah,
not going to disown you.
You're right. Like if yeah, like I'm not going to murder somebody over his mistake. You know what I mean? But if someone fucks with him, then get my cell ready. You know, like like that. You know.
Does anyone know who this is?
Yeah,
have a
that's
good night,
Justin.
Incredible.
That's Justin.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's good people.
Thanks,
Melanie,
you
I'm
at,
right
Justin?
there with you. My son's 36 years old, so he's as old as some of you guys here.
Yeah, mine's 20. So yeah, like you're a
And
grown up.
he used to do some stupid stuff when he was young, you know, like when middle school and whatever. I had a lady come to my house because she was all pissed off because my son said some ugly things to her son on the bus and whatever. And she came over and she lit into me for it. And I says, yeah, that's my son. I said, he probably did that, you know, and he got in
Right.
trouble for it. And I didn't sit there and say, I'm going to fight a war with you, lady, because you're over here attacking my son. It's like, no, he did this and he was held accountable for it, you know.
Well,
And
I know we say that we would bury somebody for our kids. You know, they kill somebody. Yep, I'm going to bury them in the backyard. Nobody's going to ever know. We say that. But are we going to do that when we're faced with it? You know, or are we going to make them face their
I'll visit you in
consequences?
jail.
Depends on what was done.
Look at Mike. You know me, Jason. I already had the holes dug, so I don't know.
The picture out back already. So
We'll share the cell.
I barely made it out.
But one of the things that I've noticed in dealing with the kids that I deal with it here in my community is that, you know, parents are like, what have you done? What did you do to my kid? Like we had an instance where there was a fight happening in the boys' bathroom a few weeks back, and the security guard went in there. There's a crowd of boys in there. He's pushing his way in to get at it, and this kid got pushed, and he turned on the security guard and was like trying to throw down with the security guard and all of this stuff. And the mom gets in social media locally, and she's all blah blah blah. He put his hands on my son and all of this stuff, and it's like. And I told her, I said, well, what would you do if you found out that it was your son that was the one that started that? I said, are you going to demand your
hell
son
no, not my
apologize?
son.
Whatever? Oh, hell no. Hell no, she's not. You know, you've got
pictures
this
that didn't happen.
mama bear mentality that goes through, that's going through, and it's, you know, it's along the lines of tribalism, the group think. It's like this thing that you're supposed to be with your kids, and it's like, bullshit. These kids got to learn to be accountable. You think that they're going to have an easy life? You teach them this way, they're going to have an easy life when they get out there? No, life's going to eat them alive.
Well, half of us got our ass beat walking home. By the time we got home, all our neighbors had their hand, you know, if you did something in the neighborhood, every single neighbor, by the time you got home, you had already been yelled at 10 times. And now it's time for mom and dad to get their hand on you. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I would get my ass whooped and
Nowadays,
go home and
your
get my ass
neighbor
whooped
yells
again.
at you. Don't talk to my kid that way. You know, it's
Other people had
You're lucky if you
parents
know
had
your
permission
neighbors.
to whoop my ass when needed be.
Yeah.
What's up, Ross? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said other parents had permission to whoop my ass when needed be when I was a kid.
100%. 100% they did. No questions asked. And God forbid you threw a tantrum in the middle of a grocery store because you got your ass beat right there. And somebody walked by and said, damn, that kid deserved that one. They didn't sit there with their phone recording it saying, oh my God, that's child
Turning you
abuse.
in.
You know, it's
right.
Yep.
More
What,
like,
what
I
you
think, you
did
know, and
just
that's
now.
the difference in what we're talking about, like Kim was saying, you know, like Kim and Melanie, you know, that was being a mother, you know, that's understandable, you know, and standing up, hey son, you fucked up, you know, let's go through it. I'm here by you, but you got to take the consequences. But then you got the mother hens, like you were talking about, Kim, that because I have a friend like this, she her kid does no wrong, no matter what, her kid does no wrong, you know, and that I think is more of the tribalism because it's hurting the kid, if anybody, or you know, out of everybody, because it's not teaching the right morals and the right standards.
Well, it's teaching them to be entitled, and you know, we've got a whole society full of those entitled kids now, and it's scary.
Yeah, everybody owes me everything.
It is.
Yep. Everybody has a
though,
right, and nobody has a responsibility.
Well, would you agree that some of these kids that may are not walking the right path, a lot of it is, for lack of a better term, like home training, like maybe the parents just didn't do what they were supposed to do.
The tribe's not doing its responsibility because it takes a tribe. It takes a village to raise a child. So that tribe is not doing the responsibility to help raise that child.
In my
I think
opinion,
this whole I don't want my kid to go through what I went through thing has gone too far. Like, because some of y'all haven't gone through much.
in
So,
my
like,
opinion,
let your kid go
parents
through
are
some
not
shit.
parenting. Parents are not
Right.
parenting. They want to be friends with their kid. They're not parenting. They're not doing the hard things that you have to do to make sure that you raise a good kid. You know, they think that a kid's going to raise themselves. A lot of these kids go home to no parents at home
Just a
until
tablet.
late. Yeah, it's a template, exactly. And they don't have any structure. Like you ask them, well, because I teach high school, you ask them, what are you going to do? Like I have sophomores and seniors. I ask my seniors, what are you going to do when you graduate? I don't know, miss. I have no idea, no clue. And a lot of it is because their parents haven't given them that structure of finding their identity. So a lot of them have very diffused identities. They have no sense of self. I just started an identity thing because I want to tie personal history into the history at large. And a lot of these kids don't even have a sense of self, you know, and those are seniors, and seniors by that time, they should have some clue of who they are. You know, a lot of that's going to change and grow and stuff, but
yeah,
it's scary. It
I
scares me.
didn't. I'll tell you. I'll say from my experience in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and some of that was because, and I'm not going to disagree with you. Parents need to step up, but I also think our education system has been let down as well, because we barely go through. I think home ec was like a joke. We barely go through any of that stuff anymore. It's more about, you know, like, so there's a concerted effort between laziness in the parents, some sort of a deformity in the learning system that we have now, and a combination between that and us making everything so easy with technology. Like, all of this stuff feeds into what I would consider the next cycle. The we're gonna have to create hard people here real soon. Like, it's gonna happen through, not through fun. It's gonna happen through hardship. And I think we've lost the good parts of tribalism. I would call it community. We've lost a lot of sense of community. And that's why I've talked about this before, guys.
Not many people can be trusted anymore.
Right.
In the community.
That's my point. But you can't worry about that when you're building culture or building a community, because you're always going to have that. You know you're going to have dissenters. So what I like about the cannabis community is that we are the only sort of culture that I see building in America. It's the only sort of good culture that's happening right now, and we're reaching out away from just people that use cannabis to all of the people within all of the industries of cannabis, the distribution, the packaging, the sales, all of that stuff has to involve other people. And so it's becoming the new culture in America, in my respect, in my opinion.
Waylon, we got two people that want to come up, Incredibles Michigan and Ty Pond. So
I'll jump
drop
down
off,
if
y'all.
you
drop
wanna-
me in the background.
I'll jump down.
All right,
Okay.
Ben. Good talking to you, brother.
I sent the link to Mess. I don't know if you got the link, bro. If you're still watching, he said no link, and I sent it to him. But Austin, what's up, bro?
All right, everybody.
High school.
Have a great one, Ben. Appreciate you, brother.
Fire in the hole, y'all. Cheers,
Fire
bro.
in the hole.
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole.
Tribal mentality and bully mentality. So Wayne, we talked about that a little bit earlier. So the tribal noun can become bullying, as in you hate the other, or you're in a group and you because they said to the detriment sometimes of group people outside of that group, which that's where you become. And the term bully, we've actually talked about this before on the show too. The term bully actually directly refers to someone trying to get something out of you by being mean. Someone being mean to you is not a bully. A bully is when somebody is mean to you and tries to get something from you. Give me your lunch money. Give me your shoes. Whatever that is, that's a bully. But that's a good question though, for sure. Hey, what's up, Incredibles?
Cheers, brother.
But yeah, that's definitely a good distinction. Send the link. Did someone send Ty the link?
Yeah, I sent it to Ty, then I sent it to Incredibles.
Cool. Mess, you have it too, man. You can pop in the backstage if you like.
Morpheus.
So I'd like to know what Dan had in mind when he posed the topic.
Oh yeah, we gotta let him go for a while on that. Let's hear it, Dan. He told us a little bit.
Well, I read a lot about tribalism in this book, and this is the wisdom of the shamans. And the shamanism kind of teaches you to separate yourself from tribalism and find your own individual self. So I've kind of the last 2 years kind of incorporated that. I've tried to really separate myself from tribalistic behaviors while still be part of a group, but still understanding the dynamic between my individual self and then the group as a whole. And I think that can be the same thing can be approached in a relationship too. Like with another person too, you have the relationship as you have yourself, and then you have the other person, and you really have to keep those all separated to be a healthy relationship. So I think that there's ways to have a group mentality and be an individual as well. But the shamanism book really teaches you how to do that and incorporate that into your life.
Super cool.
That's cool. I like that, Dan. What book is
Yeah.
that?
What was the title of that book again?
It's called The Wisdom of the Shamans.
Here, hold on. Let me pull you up, Dan. People can see at home what that is.
The book has a lot of different knowledge, and it really is a really awesome book. But it basically talks about can teach us about love and life, and there's a lot of lessons and stories in there, and they kind of incorporate the story into how to incorporate it into your life. But it's a pretty cool book.
I mean, I'll be honest. I consider myself a very tribalistic person. You know, I love with all my heart, and I give the people the benefit of the doubt 99% of the time, and sometimes I get screwed for it. You know, but it is one of them things that if you're in my inner circle, I'll stand up and go to bat for you no matter what. It's just one of them that I am. And so tribalism to me, especially in a relationship, you know, with a spouse, significant other, with family members, they don't have to be blood. Family doesn't have to be blood. You know, I believe in that close knit. One thing I had written down was like Waylon saying, and a lot of people are going back to it nowadays of families living on the same property, you know, buying up almost a homestead, buying up a large plot of land, and people going back to having several houses on the same property. We have several members in our family that do that and have done that. And it's great to see the bond that they have and the connection and the help for the community that they have right there and built. And so I truly believe I'm 100% tri-fortunate for it.
I was
Yeah.
just talking to my parents about that the other day, buying land and living together.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to that, it used to be that way, 100 years ago.
Well, I make one distinction though. We used to all like live in one big ass house.
Yeah,
I
fuck
don't
that.
want you in my house.
No,
Get out my
I
house.
live on my
You can
land.
go, right?
Another house.
I need
Right.
some space.
Get your
We
butt
talked
over
about
in
getting
the
a bunch of sheds.
Now, I totally agree, Jason. I wanted to touch on that too because I like to think, it might sound silly, but I always like to think of the human tribe, the human race. I think I'm racist of the human race. I like to think of the human race above other animals, other creatures, because not because we're better than them, but because we're stewards of everything else. We have, like, if without us doing the right things, they will all fail too, because we're like cockroaches, we keep breeding. But
Where'd the basis of that thought come from, Waylon?
well, I like to think of everybody. I want to make everybody, everyone's life better, not just my certain group of people that I don't know. Maybe it's because I've never really had a group. I used to be. Bean was talking about stoners being friends with everybody. I actually wasn't a stoner, but I used to be that weirdo that was friends with I could go into any group, sort of meld in and talk to them, but they weren't necessarily my group still, though. It wasn't like all those people were coming to hit me up. It was like I was still a loner that was just like sort of accepted everywhere. It's weird, So I guess in my head, I want to be as accepting as possible to anyone. But I've had situations where
I
there's
can
someone
relate to that a lot.
There are people I don't like, and that's because of a feeling, a vibe, the way they interact with me. And it's usually because I don't think they like me, or that doesn't feel like they like me. And that's usually what I don't like about someone. But I like to think of this too, guys. We have to remind ourselves, some of us, as we get into this whole world of meeting more people all the time, the human mind is actually only able to remember about 150 people. Did you guys know
Yeah,
this?
I believe it.
That's
By
about,
name?
that is about the extent that you can remember.
By name or the actual remembrance of the
I'd
actual
have to look
person?
up the specifics. I think it was like being able to remember 150 people's names at one time.
Yeah, I can't even
I'll look it
remember
up.
that many.
But basically, they've done studies on actual
I can do that.
tribes, and most the number of people, 150 people, is about the maximum size that a tribe can be, where everything can still be in control, like where all the assholes can be weeded out, the bad people can be weeded out. When a population of people gets bigger than 150, things start to go wacky. Like that's when you start to have corruption and all these other things start to take over, which is
So
crazy.
the people in power lose control.
Makes sense to me,
Because there's
though.
just too much. It's just too much. You got too many people in the line of between you and everyone else. There's too many people, too many mistakes, too many variables. All of that stuff gets too much, and so that's why we have towns, then we have counties, and then we have cities. So I think that we need to get back to our local stuff, and that would actually help a lot of things on the national level. But that's hard to do, man. Trust me, I'm not going to local city council meetings. Maybe I should be. Maybe one day, who knows? But I think there's aspects of our tribe that
Oh,
we see
Jesus, Waylon just started a new show.
live.
Oh man, no more new shows. Man. No more shows.
That leads me back. That leads me back to a combo I was having, Waylon, about the need for mankind to be led. You speak of 150 people, and after that, it gets disorganized. There's too many variables. There's too many people that disagree with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have all of these governments, from monarchies to modern day, capitalistic governments that we have. They're all leading people of mass numbers way over 150.
Yes.
So is there not an ingrained need for mankind to be led in some way?
I think we have natural born leaders. That term means something. I think there are people gravitate to that person without. There are other people who seek out leadership and power. There's a difference between someone who seeks to be the leader and someone who everyone just seems to like that guy. And they just want to be around that guy or that girl or that woman. You know what I'm saying? And let me just read the actual quote here from Google, at least. It says, an individual human can maintain stable social relationships with about 150 people, not more. It says this is the proposition known as Dunbar's number. That the architecture of the human brain sets an upper limit on our social lives. Kind of cool and interesting. So when you guys are out there going, man, how come all 4,000 of my friends aren't coming to my show or whatever? It's like, bro, like that, you're lucky to get 10% of people to even see you. And that might not just be social media. That might not be the algorithm. That might just be because people can't process that many people. You're just on
That's
the outside.
The way it is in church. As a pastor, you can only probably pastor about 100 to 125 before you lose track of who's doing what and what's going on. And then it gets to the point where, because you cannot have a relationship with them, people start feeling like a number. That could be in church, that could be a business, that can be wherever. But when you start feeling like a number, you don't feel invested in the process or invested in what you're doing. And that's where some of the problems start to happen.
So I always thought it'd be interesting to have a society, like say we move to like another planet or something, where everyone's separated by 150 people in each town, and then they're like separated by 100 miles from the next town or something weird like that. But then you'd still have the internet, So that's funny. I don't know. Like when you go to you guys ever go to watch a podcast or a show where there's thousands and thousands of people just commenting? Like, what is that? Who is that even for? Who thinks that's going anywhere? It's insane.
Yeah.
I actually, one of those big podcasters, he does a show on Rumble now where he isn't on all the platforms. He does an exclusive on Rumble. And there was like 1,000 people watching, and I was commenting in there. He read my comment. I was like, he read my comment. That was great. But yeah, like you just feel like a number.
When there's like thousands of comments going through and they actually read your comment, you're like, hey,
right. Well, and it's so funny. It's so twisted because like Orpheus said earlier, he's like, read my comment, Waylon the indoor farmer, don't be an a-hole. And I'm like, I'm not reading everyone's comment. Like that's just
called you out.
Yeah, he does that, but it's fine. Like I read his comment just in my head. It's all good, bro. But
I gotta give him credit though. He hasn't given us a thumbs down yet. So
no, that's John Doe. That's John Doe that does the angry face.
Oh.
So Waylon, you do believe that you believe that society would be better with groups of 150 people 100 miles from each other?
I don't believe it. I just think that the data sort of leans that way.
You don't think that it's not man's natural instinct to conquer?
Yeah, but that's why the bigger groups in 150 makes it bad, because then you get some conqueror or a dictator or the bad section. That's my point. That's the point of the whole thinking behind it, is that 150 people or less, you're not a group of conquerors at that point.
But if you go over and take over the next 100 mile over 150 and you've conquered them, now you got 300. And that's kind of how it's went in history with mankind.
If you can gather the masses and get them to follow you in some way, whether that be religious or like Caesar, Alexander the Great, whoever it is, they can definitely make things happen. But that is where the tribalism becomes bad. It becomes groupthink, because you get that one guy that he's not up there just telling them what to do. He's up there getting them to believe what to do. They get them to believe this is the right thing to do. We have to kill those Jewish people. We have to do this or that.
That's right.
Like that is where it's belief that's the strong point, the faith, and like they don't just go up there and say, "Hey, I'm real smart. I know what to do. Let's do this."
But see, that's my point in saying that mankind has a need to be led, be it from politician or religion or whatever that matter is. It's been used throughout history to bring these tribes together into one conquering faction or whatever you want to call it. I do believe there's an ingrained need in mankind as a whole to be led.
You can do that, but while being decentralized though too. And the difference is we continually want power wants to consolidate, right? That you guys have heard that power wants to consolidate because that's its nature, not because it's evil, but because that's just what happens. So we, as thinking humans, have to be aware of that, and we have to fight against it by decentralizing things. And that's, I think, you might disagree with me, but the United States has been the closest thing to decentralizing power that has come so far, because of the like you got right now. Governors have a ton of power, bro. Like if a lot of them will kowtow and just do whatever they're told. But there were some that would stand up and they can do what they. And then you also have sheriffs. You guys don't know sheriffs have a lot of jurisdictional power, bro, over the federal government. A ton.
Game wardens.
So we might have our, figurehead, our empty husk of president or whatever. But as long as we fight back against them trying to consolidate everything, then we can keep our tribes, keep our local, elected sheriffs in power. We can do things like that locally, but we just don't like to, because what's more sensational? Oh, that person that millions of people are watching, rather than that person that my local couple 100,000 are watching. Right. So we gotta keep our eye on the what's needed, not the shiny thing.
For sure.
Anyway, that's my ramble.
Well,
I know what you're saying. Go ahead, Kim.
I think there's a lot of ego that comes into play with a lot of this. And I think that greed is also a big problem. I think a lot of the reason why we're in the predicament that we're in politically is because, instead of people voting people into office to do the right thing, they've voted people into the office, whatever office it is, for their own personal interests.
Honestly, that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody's voting for their own personal interests and not the community's interest as a whole.
Yeah.
They're looking at what they want, what they need, not what everybody needs as a whole. I've seen politicians try to pass things that would help the community as a whole, but since one select group of people didn't like it, it didn't get passed.
Yeah.
When it could have helped 1 million people, but 100,000 of them stopped it.
The tribalism comes in, well, not a little bit, but a lot, when Democrat, Republican, if you're one of them are true and true. It don't matter if it's right or wrong. They're going to vote Democrat. It doesn't matter
I call those teams.
Wrong. They're going to vote Republican.
Yeah, I ask you what you believe, not what team you're on, and those are teams in my book. Those are just tribalistic.
And to me, I consider those people kind of brainwashed. That you can blindly vote for something because you feel it's right.
Go out and ask anybody what platform that a presidential or government candidate stands on, and probably 85 to 90% of people cannot answer that question.
No.
Cool. Hey, ask everybody in America. They can answer because there's only two.
I watched the president use social media platform, and it ended very well for him.
There really aren't platforms anymore. Used to politically, the Republicans had a platform, the Democrats had a platform, and it was pretty staunch. That was kind of like how everybody was. They ascribed to that, the big ideas of those platforms, but there really isn't a platform anymore. Like, I don't know. It's politics. There's a big shift of some kind going on in politics. And
well, what happened, Kim, I believe, is we got fed up, plain and simple, with everything that was going on. And unfortunately, the majority said they're going to fuck around and find out what happens if we vote for somebody that don't know their head from a hole in the ground, that has nothing to do with politics. And I'm sorry, a couple of our presidents have had nothing to do with politics at all. They got in there because somebody else wanted to see what would happen, so they got voted in.
That's kind of listen, I know what you're speaking about. Listen, I think it's two wings on the same bird. I don't care whether you're Democrat or Republican. They're beholden to the corporations, the people that really run your life. Mm-hmm. Follow the money. The people that run the money are who run your life. And you better believe that. That's not a conspiracy. That's the way of this world now. And that's wherein the problem lies.
Yeah.
Have you guys get a chance, go watch the documentary on Bernie Madoff and how he did what he did. It is amazing, man.
Sure have.
Have you guys ever seen this might be nerdy, but the game Tekken? There's an old game called Tekken.
Of course, I used to play it. I used to love it. Karate game.
As a kid, you're just like, it's a fighting game. But actually, there's a whole story behind it where it's a future where corporations have taken over all the land, like all land everywhere. It's like a couple of different mega corps, and they own everything. That's already happened. We got what is it? BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. That's it. Those three own
Vanguard.
Might as well call them the Illuminati. I don't know. That might as well be the same thing.
I mean, you could take people like Philip Morris. You know how many companies that company owns?
But somebody owns them.
Yeah.
Well, that's
what I'm saying is you can back down to about 5 corporations that own just about everything that we consume.
The 3 that I just named. I'm telling you, those 3. Look them up. They own everything, including all the land.
Yeah. That's why, you know, people talk about term limits and they think term limits are a cure. And it's like, no, it's not term limits. You need to limit the ability of these, you know, big money having access to our political leaders. You know, the people that
I
run
agree.
the country.
I think it should be. I think it should look down on a president that comes out a millionaire or anything. I think it should be like the opposite. It should be like, if you plan to serve, you're serving the people. We'll give you your meals, give you your place to stay, but you live like a monk. You know, like you're in there. You're only dealing with, you know, it's only a few years or whatever. And I actually think presidents should get an 8-year term, not a 4-year term, and then run the whole first 4 years. They're just campaigning for the second 4 years. That's all that happens. They should just get an 8 years, because look at people like China. They have their memory. They have generations to work on things. They don't have to change it up every 4 years. So let's flip the coin every 4 years. Flip the coin.
Yeah, but that's what leads to America being able to do some of the things we do. But when you have 100-year generation of leaders that were all related, that's what leads to abuses. That's what leads to worker abuses.
I'll give you that, the inbred side of things. But then we also get in presidents who are third-generation politicians and things like that. Oh, the whole family has to come in. Oh, their kid has to be in there now.
Yeah, same thing.
Nepotism should not be. Yeah, there's no room for nepotism in politics. It's terrible.
I do believe they should have a way of voting that you can vote them into office and then you can vote them out. If something happens, they should have a recall vote and everybody vote again. It's very simple.
That would make our federal government very unstable. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't mind it at a local level, but at a federal level, it just that would make our government too unstable and leave us open to being.
I was basically talking at the executive level, but not the legislative or anything else. But
we have ways to do that.
Yeah, but they all. Yeah, I disagree with you on that one, but that's okay. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but I would disagree with you on that.
Just like I think there should be more than 2 parties.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That
and there
part
are
right
more than
there.
2 parties, but the thing is that people are so swayed by the power of, you know, the 2 parties. It's hard. How do you break that? You know,
you just can't. We've tried multiple times in our history, and the problem is, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It's actually nature. Every person has 2 halves of their brain, and so we line up a little bit more strongly on one side than the other. Almost everyone. We are left-handed, right-handed. That's not the line, but you know, my point is, like, everybody has a slight, and we actually, when it comes down to it, the difference between the sides is it can be all the way down to like the tiniest difference, and where you actually change minds, but that's only because you have a natural inclination to be maybe more on one side or the other. And in my head, it's more like one side's more logical a little bit, the other side's a little bit more for the underdog, more speaking up for the emotional side, the more side. So I think there's a difference there, and we all have it. Everyone has it, but most of us are more strong on one side or the other, and that's where it comes down. You can't have 3 parties when most of us can really identify more or less with one or the other. So libertarians, I love you, but it's like you can't run around naked on stage and expect to get voted in as president. Shit like that, not gonna work.
It's not, but let's look at it like this, guys. This is America, right? We're supposed to be built on the foundation of freedom, to be able to be a Democrat or a Republican or a Christian or a Muslim or whatever the heck you want to be as a free American. That's our foundation, right? So why isn't that also a political party foundation? Why, when people like Bernie Sanders, who everybody says, "Oh my God, socialism," why, when he runs, can he run as a socialist? Why does he have to run under the Democratic platform?
So okay, I get what you're saying, and actually, I have to disagree with myself for a second, because there are many parties. It's just that they end up banding together in order to strengthen numbers, more power, more political push, more money, all that thing. So they end up jumping in with whatever, like Bernie Sanders jumping in with Democrats because they were just going to eat him for lunch otherwise. But there is a socialist party. I think there's a Nazi party. I think there's a lot of party.
But none of them have ever been able to run on a main party ticket because there's only two party tickets.
What I
Well,
said.
that's
Yeah,
because that's where people vote. That's the way people vote. If you run if you run just as a socialist, you won't have much of a chance to win, because the majority of the people are going to align with one party or the other. That's
correct.
It's kind of like what do you call it? What is our economic system? I'm sorry. Capitalism. Kind of like capitalism, where you get cut out.
America is capitalism at the core.
Well, it's a mixed capitalist, but
crony capitalism. That's corrupt capitalism. That's not what good capitalism. I'm a capitalist, not a crony capitalist.
Yeah. I'm under the impression that all capitalists are corrupt.
But
capitalism at its core.
It's efficiency.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you have a product, you might have the best product in the world, but if people don't buy it, you're not going to sell it. You're not going to make any money.
I just don't subscribe to that, because capitalism sets one man above another always.
So
doesn't matter.
Else.
That's just the way it works.
Name one that doesn't.
One that's in the world? None.
Yeah, name any other.
There's none. There's none.
So
but shouldn't there be? Shouldn't there be?
Well, right, but capitalism doesn't aim to do that. Capitalism aims to say, I want to find something that you want because I need your money. So I am not going to sell you a handful of poop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, oh, Ty wants this this thing of dabs. I know he does. So I'm going to start making those. That's what real capitalism was meant to be, not let me rig the system to where Ty can only buy my stuff, or let me taint my stuff, even though he's going to buy it so I can save some money. All of that stuff is not good, and I totally agree. But there is nothing else I think better than capitalism. I'm not going to say it doesn't have have problems.
The thought behind socialism is a good thought.
I didn't think so, Steve-O, but I think it is now.
Well, the only problem with socialism is it doesn't work.
We kind of got away from the topic.
But wait, it doesn't?
No.
Let's look at it in America. We've had socialism for quite a long time. People just don't even realize it. The social security system is socialism.
That's a social
public aid is socialism. Unemployment is socialism. It's our money being returned back to us for goods to be used in the community. It is socialism in its bare necessity.
I'll be right back.
The same thing my mother and father survive off of right now.
Hi, Josie.
Well, that's why we don't have a full capitalist economy. We have a mixed economy. Because there's a mix of socialism
the government has their thumb on the scale on a lot of things. That you can't have capitalism cannot flourish when they are artificially playing with prices and artificially moving things and messing with gold prices and messing with everything. They do this stuff artificially from the Fed. They'll release money and they'll hold back percentage interest rates. All these things they're doing to mess with our free trade. A lot of people will tell you taxes is not legal. And taxes, that's ridiculous. So I will push back a little bit, Ty. Social safety net, I think, is 100% okay. If you look at Switzerland, or Sweden, I think, they are not a socialist. They are actually a capitalist country with a heavy social safety net, which is different. There's a difference there. Our welfare
tomato.
Well, okay, but our welfare system cannot survive if we just continue to let everyone in from the world. So there's those two things. Even Bernie Sanders would say that those two things can't coincide. You can't actually create a system where we can help the people who need it if we just tell everyone on the planet that they can just come on over and get something. So there's a lot of problems with that because we're not just being nice.
It can't. I mean, it can't.
That situation, you know.
It cannot work under the way the world is. It's impossible. It's not going to work. But what I'm saying is, why don't people think this way? Like, I mean, when I think of stuff like, okay, what's that big bat-looking stealth bomber that the government's got? Costs like $1 billion to make one of those. $1 billion for one. You know how many people that would take off the streets of America that are homeless?
I don't know. Do they want to come off the streets?
No, I'm not saying they all do. Some of them don't. Some of them like that. Like, they call it freedom because they have no bills. They have no responsibilities. I'm just saying, though, there's nothing that we spend more money on the military than any country in this world. And we're the most powerful country because of it. But one of them, two of those things, or a couple billion of those dollars can help out our vets on the street, our homeless people on the street, and all that other stuff. It just seems ridiculous, guys. All of the money that this government gets comes from our pockets. We work and give them taxes. So it should be helping us. Not helping a corporation not pay taxes for 10 years just because they move a business in an area and give people jobs. I'm sorry, man. I got deep feelings about this stuff here in particular.
All right, bro.
And
You
this,
don't have to be sorry. It's all good.
this relates to tribalism. It does.
Well, it all does. That's why I like this topic. I told Dan earlier. I said this means we can really touch on a lot of different things. Religion definitely connects. Politics definitely connects. All of these things are definitely within this topic. And I think I have differing opinions on certain things, but I think that's the whole point of this show. The point of this show is to fight against tribalism. Actually, if you think about people in the boxes, I actually was asking somebody on game night, which was awesome, except for you, Jason. Sorry, but everyone else had a good time. But I tell you what, whenever somebody landed on it and was like, I was like, "What is People in the Boxes about?" And they said, "Well, it's topics and stuff." I was like, "Well, no, I mean, it is their topics, but the topics are meant to give us a reason to share our thoughts and experiences on the topic, and that gives us more perspective on it, which does what? That fights against tribalism. That sort of gives you a more broad perspective, not just a narrow perspective. So yeah, and I welcome all your opinions, guys. Definitely think Incredibles. What do you got on your head, bro? I'm interested. I like it.
Oh,
it looks like a Jenny Perkins hat.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. This is actually a neon, neon. It's a UV light reactive hat. I don't have a black light nearby, but yeah, it's a crocheted hat I got from Jenny Perkins. She makes these. She doesn't work. She's not able to since she had a triple bypass heart surgery, so she's not able to work anymore. So she makes a little bit of income by making these nifty ass hats, and she makes these cool little stash bags. Cool.
Yeah, she does.
Well, so
Rhino got one
she
too.
makes them
Don't
just
you,
for a
Rhino?
few bucks. She doesn't charge a lot, Gonna hit her up definitely. Wintertime's coming up.
Awesome.
Yeah, they look cool.
I love that it's UV reactive.
And when you wear it in the club, it fucking glows like a motherfucker. Like, I don't know if you guys give me like 10 minutes or 5 minutes, I can go grab my black light.
Go for it, bro.
Funny, I just got one in the mail today. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think it'll go through the phone that way, but
Melanie, oh man, I need to assign you a job because I forget because I'm not on the West Coast, but we missed the 710. I want to try to hit your 710 more often.
I can do that.
You can do
I
that.
can be a timekeeper.
Yeah,
I can be a time.
710.
Right.
But let me. I just want to go back to politics for just a half second. Does anyone else think it would be good if on the ballots you didn't see no parties? None.
Yes.
People's names. Just people's names.
Yes.
Guess what? A lot of people would be like, "I'm lost. I don't know who to vote for."
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Like that's exactly what would help fix a lot of things. And another thing that people think would help is if you only get to vote if you have done some sort of I forget what it was, like some sort of shit, I'm losing it now, but it was like military or some kind of service to the community, or if you're right now it's citizenship, but they're trying to let anyone vote. But I think there should still be something that even our citizens right now who don't pay any attention, they shouldn't get to vote unless there was something that somebody proposed, like a test or a like they have to keep up on something in order to be allowed to vote.
Do you know how many people wouldn't do any of that?
Yeah,
I
disagree.
I know.
It's hard enough to get people to vote now.
Idiot voters right now. That's my problem.
I totally
But
disagree.
I haven't done any of that, and I'm not an idiot voter. I don't think, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I disagree with that. There shouldn't be regulations on people that vote. If you're a citizen, you should vote.
Well, you ever seen Starship Troopers? Like, you couldn't vote unless you were a citizen. You couldn't be a citizen unless you volunteered or whatever. You were in the military or something.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a socialist idea, but I think that I think every young person should be in the military for 2 years. I really like that about Switzerland. Is Sweden? I can't remember which one. I get them mixed up. I know it's totally against most of my beliefs in general, but I like the idea because I think our country would be stronger because of it. A 2-year stint is actually really like informative. You learn and you gain a whole ton of
I strongly disagree.
Discipline. I know.
I don't think half our people could do that. I think it would break so many people. It would
Sounds
not.
like communism.
It wouldn't be
be
immediate. They'd have to say, okay, 10 years from now, like they'd have to have a date, like from 10 years from now, anyone who turns 18 after this date or whatever, as soon as high school's over, just 2 years. Anyway, it was a thought in my head because we actually we have a big problem in this country, guys. If we go to war, Ty, you're talking about how much money we spend. All that money is going to amount to nothing when all we have are, people who are worried about who they're having sex with or what their gender is or whatever in our military. That's nothing to do with military, but yet that's what they're worried about in their campaign ads and things like that nowadays. So my point is, like, I think our military is fucked. So if we end up having a hard time again or a crisis, we're going to end up going back to let's, be tough and have the draft. Look at the draft. Like, the draft wouldn't be a thing if we had this sort of, I don't know. I
want to push back there, Waylon. Would you what makes would you put your son through that?
Right.
I like my
son do that right now.
And if my son was able, I would be totally behind him joining.
But what makes your son's life more valuable than mine because he's not able to and mine is?
It doesn't make him more valuable. I'd be fine with him doing something that he's allowed to do. Like, I mean, whatever they allow, it's up to them.
I disagree with that.
The health condition there, I don't see where that weighs that your son has a, disability there. So he's straight off the scale off the bat. He's free. How many kind of like with the draft, so many people are going to fake a disability, an injury, or whatnot.
So do that now,
right?
They've already done that. Well, first, I don't agree with draft at all, nor do I agree with having to serve or else.
Well, it's not an or
else.
Does this still have to do with tribalism?
Wait a minute, because you said they would have to serve in order to get certain things.
That was one thought someone has come up with. Yeah, it's like how to make it easy, how to make our voting population a little more involved, or have the how do we get people from being just the mass vote for D or vote for R? These are some of the ideas that have been come up with. Like, hey, should we come up with something that they'd have to do in order to be able to vote, whatever it is. But I like the serving thing personally, just because it gives kids a lot of things that they're missing these days. The discipline, a skill, like you have to go through a schooling for a job. You learn a job right off the bat. Like a lot of things that we're missing from our kids when they get out of high school, Anyway, I'm not saying it would be a freedom thing. It would definitely be on the security side of stuff, because what do? We weigh freedom and security with everything. Every group, every tribe, we all weigh how much freedom we want versus how much security we want. And those two things always clash. You're never gonna agree on how free we could be versus how secure we could be. Because right now we can all imagine there's like, what if we had the military come into every major city and lock down every gang, every known gang neighborhood or whatever? What if that happened? Well, we'd be a lot more free, or we'd be a lot more safe, but would we be any more free? Like, you know what I'm saying? So we always have to weigh those things. And for me, I think our country is kind of soft in the military and in that sort of situation. If we had a problem, I'm not asking for a bunch of career military people, because that's where we have a problem too. The people that stay in there forever, those are the ones who that's all they know. I know guys, when they come out, that's their whole shtick still. They walk around high and tight, still wearing everything they can. That's
for the rest of their life.
Yeah, the rest of their life. That's them. It's like that's a little.
It's like being institutionalized.
It
the
is.
same
That's
exact.
exactly what it is.
I
Yep.
was institutionalized while I was overseas. Everything was done for you. Basically, you're basically like in a prison in some sense. Obviously, those of you that have been in prison, probably a different experience.
I still have
But
some of the behaviors from military life 20 years later. I still, the way I hold my head up and the way that, it changed my life forever.
Some of those things
I can see it in you, Daniel. I can see it
The way
in your
you
body language.
clean.
The way you carry yourself.
His Dexter room.
I learned that from my mother. My mother was a clean freak too. So,
Dan, you look like
you're
an
muted,
FBI
Jason. You're muted, Jason. Sorry.
Yeah, your facial expression does not change, man. It just stays.
When he smiles, it's like, oh wow, you got him.
Yeah, it stays.
Yeah.
That's why I poke at him once in a while, try to get him to smile.
He looks like an FBI agent named Terry.
You were talking earlier, and Orpheus was like, "Oh my God, he talks."
Alex says, sign up for the draft or lose your right to vote until 30 years old. Done.
I would lose my right to vote, no questions asked.
Yeah,
you know how many people would, especially an 18-year-old, they don't give a shit. 18-year-olds don't give a shit about voting. They're like, nope.
And I would cause a lot of other people to lose their right to vote because we'd be fighting that.
Yeah. It's
I would
tough.
lose my right to vote right off the bat. Wouldn't even think twice about it.
Let me explain something. That's why it takes a country being destroyed, revolution, civil war, all these things to happen before major change happens. Because why? None of us are going to sit around. The country's not going to sit around and agree on a major change like anything like that, and where none of us would agree. So what? And that's the cycle. The countries, every country, the ones that are still around, France, England, they've been remade how many times over? Like they've just been, wiped out.
Yeah, technically, America's a real young country.
Well, wouldn't we need an amendment to the Constitution to change?
That's my point. Is no one's ever going to do that, and not anymore now. Not after everything that's been happening.
You know why? Because it takes a majority to change that, and that's not going to happen now at the current state.
Steve-O, what kind of an amendment were you saying? I didn't quite catch it.
I'm asking, wouldn't you need an amendment to the Constitution in order to change who's, allowed to vote or whatever?
Right.
Allowed to vote?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because all citizens are given the right to vote.
But the citizenship, though, is what they would change. They could change who is a citizen. How do you get citizenship? And that can be not necessarily just not being born here. They could take that off the plate and make it some other stipulation. But, that would just get corrupted, obviously, just like everything.
Well, it was less than 100 years ago that women got the right to vote. So,
right.
Come on.
Yeah.
Even
Waylon's already trying to take it away.
Yeah, unless they get you get a high and tight haircut and you're in. Yep.
Yeah. No, I don't think that should be the only way in either. I think serving. I think we have a lot of career, not politicians, but career government employees, and that can be a problem too. So when people talk about term limits, I think they're talking more about all the bureaucrats that are behind the people we vote for, that are in there for 100 years, and they're the ones really running. We call it the deep state, whatever you want to call it, bureaucracy, whatever you want to call it. But the people who are just in there, that have been there for how many administrations in a row, and they can just
they follow their tribe 100% to the death.
Oh, it's a huge like you talk about, like they
follow their tribe 100% to the death.
Well, it would help if they got rid of the electoral college and super electorates, super delegates. It would help a lot. And that they could change the small man not having a voice because he's not got a lot of people. They could make that by one vote is one vote. Period. Don't count for no more in the electoral college than it does with me and you voting in the office.
That would make it terrible, though. That would make mob rule.
Yeah, it
mob
would.
rule.
No, that would make majority rule, which is what democracy
Mob
is.
rule. Yeah,
it'd
which
make
is
mob
bad.
rule. That was one of the fears of the founding fathers, and that's why they created the electoral college. I would like to see, for the presidential elections, I'd like to see them get rid of districts, because districts are so easily gerrymandered, and
Facts.
you gerrymander a district, and the lawsuits don't happen until after the election, and it's too late after that. You've already got an unfair election with that. So
Isn't gerrymandering allowed, though?
no, it's illegal.
But they've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah,
redistricting is allowed.
There's recourse for it, but it's after the fact.
Yeah.
So
And then they don't change the districts for so often even.
No.
So once it's set, it's swayed that way till it's rechanged, which sometimes is years and years.
Yeah, or unless there's a lawsuit that's brought about to make it change. But even then, it's not a quick process to fix. But that's what I would like to see, because you've had like the election with, who was it, where George Bush got in. A lot of those districts were gerrymandered.
Gore.
Yeah, the Gore-Bush campaign. He won the electoral college, but he didn't win, and he barely won the electoral college, and it was contested. And the only reason it wasn't contested was because Gore stepped back.
Right.
And the same happened with Trump.
That's what I was just going to say. It just happened with him and Clinton too.
Yeah.
But see, that's the part I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I mean, to have a true democracy, and people mistake democracy, it's not really a free form of government. A democracy has rulers, but the majority rules in a democracy. And I thought that's what America was, but we're not.
So you want the popular vote to win, the popular person, the person with
if the majority of people say this is how it should be, then that's how it should be.
The problem with that is big cities, Ty. Like you don't. So I live in Illinois. I do not want Chicago dictating what I do.
Okay, so let's exclude Chicago because they have more of a population than you. That's not fair either.
How can we exclude them? What do you mean? You just said every person gets a vote and every vote counts.
No, you're saying your problem is.
That means Chicago would rule me. That means Chicago.
That's because Chicago has more people.
Yes, and you can't force country. You can't force farm towns to have more people than a city. That's just not possible. And guess what? You can't live without farm towns. So
okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and maybe we can redirect this back to tribalism somehow, because we're getting deep, guys.
Yeah,
we're getting deep.
It's a good conversation.
It is a good conversation. It's just very off topic. And
I don't think so.
Okay, well then you're the host. Go on. Carry on.
But you're welcome to
We're not going to fight or nothing if that's what you're thinking. We're just talking.
Oh no, not at all.
Man,
just trying to redirect it back.
Well, but this is where the show is great. Like these are the moments that I want, because disagreeing does not mean that we're not in the same tribe. Disagreeing should be. This is the other thing, guys. When we talked about tribalism with politics, if you can't, I don't care what side you're on, up, down, left, right. If you can't, what's the word? Criticize your own side, you're a tribalist. If you cannot find some sort of a criticism or some sort of a critique of your own, whatever, your own guy, the person you voted for, whatever it is, your own party. If you can't critique that, to me, that means you're tribalist all day.
Brainwashed.
You're a team like sports teams, say anything bad about their sports team. Like, man, I hate sports teams because they're all people that were paid for from all over the country. Why am I going to care about my local sports team if it came from, like Chicago Bears or whatever? they're not people from Chicago. Like maybe a couple of them, you know, like, but it's just all over it's just a country. Might as well be U.S. Team 32, you know, like instead of the Chicago Bears. Doesn't make any sense to me unless you go to like local college or some other sports. Some sports, man, some sports teams get so tribal that you got the guy with, you know, the fat guy shirt off, painted 3 different tone colors, and it's like what 1 degree outside or whatever. That is insane to me. Those sports teams.
Why are you talking about the Bears like that, man? No.
Yeah, all the time. It happens a lot.
I must be talking about the Green Bay Packers. No.
Hey.
Nah.
I'm not a sports guy, if you can tell. I played sports. I don't care about the teams. I actually really liked American Ninja Warrior. That's opposite of tribal. That's you by yourself, bro. You're it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have nobody. You got people rooting you on. Maybe your tribe's over in the audience or whatever. But
yeah, I like that show too.
You know what? Those people that do American Ninja Warrior, because I've watched that for many years. Those guys, they're a tribe of people. Like they're very supportive of each other.
They come up with gyms now. There are American Ninja Warrior gyms around the country where people that all compete, all try out or whatever, all go to these gyms and practice.
Good grief.
We found him. Wisconsin infiltrating the
I have the same cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese is going to come visit you.
That was
damn. Hey, Rhino, I didn't know you was a cheesehead. You only live 30 minutes from me. I better shut up, huh?
Oh, hell. I don't care. I'm also a Bears fan. I'm one of the weird ones.
Oh, Ty's like Bears eat cheese.
I'm not a Bears fan. I'm a 49ers fan. Ain't even in my state.
Oh, God, that's
if
terrible.
I watch football, I would be a 49ers fan.
So let's talk about the origin of this feeling, this urge we have to like be against something that's unknown or something that's different, the other different colored person, whatever it is, that origins of that. When we were tribal, when we had tribes, there are still tribes around, like we said. Those tribes, they have to be worried, even if they're the same color as the next tribe over. That next tribe over, they wear something a little differently. They use a different weapon, whatever it is. There's something different about them, and there becomes this thing where we have to defend ourselves because that could be a threat in some way. It's a natural defense mechanism that we take to the extreme now because there's no like natural need for it for us. We sort of create tribes. Like I'm in the, you know, like these like really niche groups now that you can be in, and it's like super detailed, like very few people. Like I know I brought this up before. I have this friend named Josh. We'll call him Josh Smith or whatever. Actually, it wasn't even that easy of a last name. It was like something less than normal, or less than highly used, I should say. And he was invited to a Facebook group of other people with the exact same first and last name. So, and there were like 9 of them in there. So it's like, oh, we're trying to make our little niche group of other, you know, Josh, you know, Ezekiel's or whatever. Like I'm just coming up with something unusual. What's up, Macy? You guys laugh all you like. I'm just meaning it wasn't a very common one. Because like a Josh Smith, I bet there's hundreds of those, right? But you know, you get my drift. Hi, Karina. Bear down, at least. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's the good natural uses of it. Like we have to be leery of someone just popping up in your group of people all happy. You ever have that happen? We have that happen on Facebook. It's like, I've never seen this person. I had this guy messaging me about helping me on my Kickstarter campaign. I said, have you ever seen my show? Oh no, unfortunately. Get out of here, bro. Like yeah, he was somebody from, he actually was, I'll give him this. He did say he's from Nigeria and he wanted to help me with my campaign. I was like, no, thanks. You know,
I think people tend to band together in common interest. I think it goes back to a survival kind of a thing.
That's what that's what I'm thinking.
I think if you talk to somebody that was like an anthropologist or some, you know, one of those fields along those lines, they would probably say that it goes back to a survival thing. You know, we band together, like we may be individualistic, we may have, you know, subsist in smaller groups or whatever, but when, you know, when we're in danger somehow, we're going to band together in a bigger, you know, a bigger group, whatever.
I think of it like kind of like what you're saying. I think of Braveheart, the movie. You know how they had the different tribes and the different clans, different word, but you know the clans came together for the survival of their land, to protect their land and stuff like that. But then you had the other ones that it turned into tribalism because they were trying to utilize the other ones, trying to gain more power and this and that, and to give their land to ensure. I don't know if you guys seen the movie. I'm sure everybody has, but you know, there was a difference. You know, when they came together as a whole, you know, to get together, that you know that was being a tribe and tribal. You know, but when it got to the point to where that one clan, they didn't show up, you know, and they were it was because they were getting promised land from a higher power than them, and it showed that, and you know, yeah, exactly, and you know, and it just kind of, that I think is a good example of tribalism too.
It actually has a term. It's called in-group, out-group bias. It's part of tribalism. So that's what you're talking about.
It's Emig versus Edic.
That's where you get one of my favorite quotes. You got to live together or we're going to die alone.
Yeah.
You know, you truly are. You have to live together or we're going to die alone. In one way, you might die alone in a group, or you might die alone, you know, die alone actually by yourself. So
it says that they did a study and that actually that people were more biased towards their own racial group when shown pictures than other racial pictures. So we're actually evolutionary bias towards our own group of people in our DNA. Like when we see white people, we want to be around white people, and that's just part of being human. And the same goes with other races. And they've actually done studies that apparently proven that. So
yeah. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense, Dan.
Well, it's just like the Native Americans here on this continent kind of did the same thing. You know, at first there was a lot of wars individually, you know, white settlers would come into their land and settle, and, you know, they'd make war on that family. And then, you know, the military, the U.S. military started getting involved, and a lot of the Native tribes started banding together, people that were, you know, just subsisted as their tribe out there. And then they collected together to band the bigger, or to fight against the, you know, together.
Yeah, and you would see that in a lot of things, even like in England, where England used to have a lot of different kings. Did you guys know this? Like there would be like every town, every like city was a king.
7. It's called the heptarchy. Yeah.
And okay, I didn't know that, but my point is like just like in the movies, like I think they do this in Lord of the Rings. When you're in trouble, you ask your neighbor for help. Well, a lot of times people are like, okay, after the trouble, all right, you go back to your town. But some people are like, oh, let's just stay. You know, and sometimes the population gets bigger that way. Because like say like in America we have dying towns sometimes. Everyone just has to move out and go to some other town. And it's interesting though. One day, Jason, you were talking about how some people were is there a TV playing or something? Anyway, some people were doing homesteading and stuff like that. I always thought it'd be cool to buy a dead town. Like you can buy those like 10 grand.
That'd be cool. I mean, you were talking just right now. You said, you know, you're asking your neighbor for help. A lot of people don't know their neighbor anymore. They don't. They don't talk to their neighbor. They don't socialize with them. No. And me, I personally, you know, my 3 neighbors that are connected in the same apartment little building right here, I can go to them and ask them for anything at all right now, and they'd try to help me immediately. And they would come to me, and I, you know, do the same. It's close-knit tribalism.
It's smart.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, I don't know. you don't always get good neighbors, and some of the people you get moving next to you are crazy as hell.
Right.
You
I
know, and
don't
it's
know
like,
any
I
of
don't
my
want to talk
neighbors
to you.
personally.
Nuts.
I don't know any of my neighbors personally for that very reason. I kind of live in a bad neighborhood too, so.
Yeah,
Well, I live in a good neighborhood, and I just moved here, but like I've talked to the people on either side of me like a little bit, but I don't want to get into their business. I don't want to know all that.
Now, when you were a child growing up, did you know your neighbors?
Oh yeah,
All of them. All of them.
every one of
Every
them.
single one of them.
Yeah,
have
we
a
were the house all the kids hung out at.
They all knew me. They all did stuff like you were talking about earlier. If I was messing up, my neighbors would spank me. I might get spanked 3 times before I get home.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Your parents already knew by the time you got down the block what happened. So you better not lie to them when you walk in that door because they
Yeah,
already
and a
know.
little text messaging back then. They knew
There you
that
go.
shit by like using their spidey senses.
Man, I still to this day wonder how my dad knew everything I did before I got home.
Deja, Melanie.
Yep.
I was saying, I swear, they found out before even a text message could be sent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, way before.
But I don't know. I still, like I said earlier, I am very tribalistic. I believe in it 100%, and I am that close knit person that if something happens, I should be able to walk 5 feet to my neighbor's house and them help me. You know, not worry about who's going to help if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Just
I
yesterday,
also feel like that, but
I locked
reality
myself
has
out
led
for
me
the
to
first time.
different.
Locked
Yeah.
myself out for the first time in my new apartment, and I have my window shaker air conditioner in. I was like, all right, I'll just pull that right out. Walked over there, started pulling that out. The hot guy from 2 houses
Okay.
down started yelling, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, it's all right, I live here. And he came running up to confirm that I lived here. You know, I'd never met the guy at all. He was like, all right, we just making sure because we don't do that shit around here.
Yeah,
And
right.
I respected that to the fullest. Somebody could have said, yeah, I lived here, and he just kept walking and minded his own business.
That
Yeah.
reminds me of another form of tribalism, the song.
Yep.
Try that in a small town.
Yep, exactly.
What is
That's
that
in the news
essentially?
really big right now with Jason Aldean, you know, his song. It's in the news a lot right now. But it happened someplace else. Somebody else might have just walked right by, like, oh, Jesus, what's going on there? I don't want to get involved. Yeah.
See, that shows the big separation between like a big city like Chicago, we were talking about earlier. What, 3 million people?
Yep.
People up there don't want that. That their desire is not to know their neighbors and have a close knit community. Their desire is for you to mind your business.
Well, yeah, because they live in such close proximity to each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a totally different lifestyle than it is in a small town. Because I live, like, we have about, I don't know, 150,000 in my community, you know, with all the little communities that are attached to Las Cruces.
Yeah.
But it's a very much still a small town mentality. Like everybody still knows everybody kind of a thing.
Everybody knows everybody.
In my little area, there's probably 200 people. You know,
See, that's where I grew up, a town of about 400 people.
Yeah.
I now live in one of about, well, I don't know. How many's here, Rhino? 120, 150,000, something like that? 250,000 in the greater Springfield area, maybe?
Springfield, Illinois?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I got a quick question. You guys think that the condition of the heart or the word love has anything to do with how we or do not interact in tribalistic ways?
What do you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, can
Like,
you
for
say it
instance,
again?
Jason was just talking about how he goes to bat for anybody. To me, that's a love thing. That's a condition of the heart. That's a trust thing. That's a I care so much about you thing. That's just not found in everybody. Right. So I think sometimes the condition of our heart and how we view things from the heart or from the mind can really put a kink in how you look at being tribalistic.
I agree, but I think where you are, like Kim was saying, being so close to each other, it sort of forces you unconsciously to change your defense mechanisms. Somebody's playing me in the background. Anyway, it forces you to change your lifestyle because of, like, when I lived in apartments. I lived in apartments for 10 years. I was definitely a lot more friendly than you'd see the other neighbors, because that's just me. But that's my nature. To your point, probably because my heart was more open. But at the same time, I tell you what, when I moved out here, I'm a hell of a lot nicer. I mow part of both my neighbors' lawns and things like that. So it's like I definitely felt a change. Maybe that's because I went through a change in general, but I felt more free to be nice to my neighbors when I came to a place where there wasn't so many of them so nearby, full
Right.
complex of apartment. And I was the courtesy officer. I was struggling to think of that name the other day. I can't remember what was that on the show or not, but they called it a courtesy officer. I wasn't a security guard because they only gave me I think it was like $200 off my rent a month. If you work out the hours, that's not enough to pay for a security guard. Sorry.
Right.
It was just like a guy that I could just lock up the pool for him and unlock it on the holidays and things. So, but if I saw something, I was supposed to report it, and little things had happened here and there. But I didn't get to. I got to know my neighbors better that way, probably than most everybody else would have at the complex. But a lot of those people were there temporarily. A lot of people come and go in apartments because they don't want to be there very long and stuff. So
Yeah.
I saw a big difference there, and I actually lived pretty close to it, next to a church in the neighborhood there. But I felt a change geographically, is all I'm saying. And I can't
So
imagine.
I was raised a military brat, so I was in sometimes 2 or 3 schools in a year. Right, my dad was in the Navy. We were stationed all over the world. So friendship and finding a tribe or finding a place where I fit in wasn't always an option for me, because I knew within the next 6 months we'd be packing up and going somewhere else. So I kind of learned that when I got older and we finally settled here in Virginia, when my dad retired, we actually had neighbors for the first time, people that I could go and get a cup of sugar from, or someone that would come and ask me for some barbecue sauce. I never knew that. That kind of relationship that you can have with somebody who was outside of your immediate family that wasn't raised that way. So it's crazy to see how, if you live next to somebody and you've never lived next to people, that can cause you to think a whole different way about your neighbor.
Mm-hmm. The whole cup of tea or cup of like sugar, borrow a cup of milk or whatever from your neighbor. That's not as much of a thing anymore. Like, hey,
Well,
go
some of
borrow.
those shows that we were raised on, you got Home Improvement with Mr. Wilson standing on the other side of the fence. And all of these neighbors, some of these sitcom shows that we grew up on, the neighbors were your best friend. They were there through thick and thin. They helped you through everything. And that was our babysitter, was these TV shows. We sat down, we watched TV. Mom and Dad went to pool league and went bowling and did what they had to do. They came home, the house was clean, dinner was already made, we had already ate, and we put ourselves to bed. We didn't have babysitters or anything like that. It was the TV. And neighbors were there to make sure if anything went wrong, we went and knocked on the neighbor's door. Hey, we need this.
I never would have trusted a stranger to help one of my kids get off the bus, but I had a relationship with our former neighbors, and they were prior military, retired military. So maybe that was the draw, the connection. But, for you to trust somebody to get your kid off the bus, that just doesn't happen a lot, So a relationship that I had with this specific neighbor was amazing. But the guy on the other side of me, never met him, never talked to him, never shook his hand. Maybe it was an up and down nod at the mailbox, but that was it. And that was just by choice for him. He wanted to live that kind of life. And I didn't care. That's his business. But I also knew that, my neighbor to my left was someone that I could lean on if I needed it. And that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. So Joshua says, I got 2 neighbors I can trust that way, and the 2 across my driveway are moving. It makes me sad. So I want to know, Joshua, if you get new neighbors, are you planning to, what are you going to do? Are you the traditional, bake a pie or something, make some cookies or whatever? Do people do that anymore? I don't know.
TP their house.
I've lived in this first time I've owned a house, and I have neighbors already here, so I've never had a new neighbor in this situation. Neighbors I live with.
Yeah. Where I'm at, we smoke a joint. That's what. Yeah.
Say hi, I've definitely received housewarming gifts with building my new apartment here. I think we still do that. I think it depends on people's. I don't really want to say morals. That's not what I'm looking at, but just friendliness, kind of like the heart, like Grassroot was saying, like just a good heart, just a good person.
Yeah. I mean, you find someone with a really good vibe, you just know it in your knower, you know?
And unfortunately, a lot of us have been hurt so much and traumatized in the past that we don't realize that there still are them good people out there that are doing things just for the good of their heart, just because they want to. They don't want nothing back in return. That's just how they are.
There's still a lot of them out there. There's more than we see nowadays, though, which is sad because we got all this internet and things to see things with. But we see all the negative stuff. We don't see the stuff like people helping their neighbors.
No, then if you do, people make fun of them and they go, "You just put that up there for clout. You should have just done that anyway." Well, no, the world needs to see more happy stuff too.
Yeah. You didn't see that I did 30 of these before I posted one video of me doing it real quick for 10 seconds. You didn't see that I feed everybody every single day, this and that. You didn't see that the kids come to my house and I have an open refrigerator, the neighbors next door, their parents aren't doing the greatest, so I let them kids come and eat out of my fridge. They get blamed for just posting one little thing.
Well, the Bible teaches us that God will bless those what you're doing in private. He sees that stuff and he blesses people for it. I believe that, man. I don't want accolades. I don't want awards. I don't want any of that. I want to see other people win. That's it.
And even the people that I don't associate with, just because you're not in my circle doesn't mean I don't want you to eat. I still want you to eat. You're just not sitting at my table no more. Plain and simple. I still want you to eat dinner. I still want you to feed your family.
You just eating outside.
You're just not sitting at my table no more. That's all it is.
You eat at the kids' table.
I don't need recognition for doing things. It makes me feel better about myself.
Exactly.
And I see that in you. And it's like, it's almost like it's selfish in a way because I'm doing it to make myself feel good.
Oh, I totally help people for selfish reasons. Absolutely.
Yeah, but Steve-O, you're not doing it to make other people feel good, and that's the point. You're not making a video so a bunch of people can say, "Oh, look at that nice guy." You're doing it because you know in your heart it's the right thing to do, and that makes you feel good, and there ain't nothing wrong with that.
I mean, Steve-O, just for instance, for you, how many times at 5 o'clock do you not want to be there for your 5 o'clock smoke hour or your 4:20 smoke hour, and you're doing it for everybody else?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to shut life off and go, I'm on a schedule, and this is when I work, if you look at it that way, and it's like, and then you got this and that and this going on, and it's like, no, not now. I can't do this right now, and then you got to figure out a way to get it all figured out. And, I don't know.
It's not selfish, buddy.
Nope. What do you guys think of the word relationship? So when you start to talk to your neighbors, we're sort of building our tribe by talking to one another on the internet now, so it's a little different, but the real life is included in this because we're doing that in real life and online. So some of us, like Ty said, he doesn't know his neighbors, but I think he would be a nice enough person that if there was a crisis, depends on the crisis. Depends on the crisis.
I have been. All the way down to a woman getting her butt beat by her boyfriend. I went over there and stopped him. You know what I mean? That's a crisis. That's a situation. But
you pay attention enough that you maybe don't know them by name. Maybe you never shook their hands.
Yeah.
But you know enough that they're cool people or they're people to be worried about, whatever your neighbors are. Most of us take note of our neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm. But maybe I'm wrong, but I think within the first 30 minutes, I'll know whether you're a decent person or not. That's just my belief.
Sure, but I think, and that's human nature to at least to be able to scope out and to know who you live around. But what I'm saying is that next step of building a relationship with each other is sort of like building a bond or having like building relations with your neighborhood. that is the type of person that's going to go into like a city hall meeting and things like that. I don't think you have too many people going to city hall meetings that aren't also the kind of person that's gonna go around knowing who their neighbors are. Don't you think that'd be a weird skip? It'd be
Probably.
like, yeah, I don't know any of my neighbors, but I go to my local city like town hall meetings and stuff. That would be weird. So I feel like those are the same kind of people. They're going to be that local, like they're going to be into all the stuff. And I want to be that for my community at some point. Like I want to go to like my local farmers market, even though it's only 4 hours a week, and it's like 2 months a year. I'm like, come on, guys, what is this?
It goes from May to October. I've looked into it. So
May to October.
4 or 5 months.
An EP?
Huh? Almost everywhere around the nation, they go from May to October.
Well, I hope I see either of you at a farmer's market.
What do you got, Ty?
Hmm?
What are you doing?
Oh, I'm not going and selling nothing, but I go to a lot of farmers markets. Yeah.
Shock.
Well,
I got some pumpkins out back. You can put them on your stand. There's only 4. if you got a stand, I got 4 big pumpkins.
I'll be at the farmers market on Saturday.
Where? In Springfield?
In Quincy, Illinois.
Oh, you're Adams County. That's right. I forgot. Yeah.
All you
Never know.
people.
Oh, hi, Donna. Donna, I got a friend request from you, and I wasn't sure why because I thought we were already friends. So,
Donna Bridget,
maybe you were a hacked account or something. I'm glad to see you commenting, which means I can probably accept your request. And what's up, Will Rose? What's up, Kim?
Hey, what's up, Jeff?
Daniel, how do you say your last name? Baird.
Yeah.
Kim, you were saying something. Sorry.
I was?
Yeah, you started to say something just before I was talking to Donna.
Oh, hell, I don't know.
That's okay.
It's way too late in the show to be doing that way.
If I was, the moment's gone.
We should watch the replay. No, I'm just kidding. I can do that, but it's not pretty. Cheers, Jason.
Yeah, I will.
Cheers, Jason. That one was enough for me.
I think I said something about all you Illini people.
Illini? Us Illinois people.
Illini.
Illini.
The early GPSs that would talk to you, they would say it like this: Illini.
Oh, you should hear what they say because I live over here in New Mexico, so it's a lot of Spanish here, and oh my God, they butcher Spanish words terribly. Ridiculous. I have people every time I hear one of those GPS say a name of a street that's just amusing.
Let me ask my friends from Illinois on here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us, all in Illinois. Do your tribal ears perk up when you hear someone say Illinois?
Oh, look. There, so I need to be included.
Oh yeah, Melanie. I'm sorry, Melanie. Melanie is also originally from Illinois.
Well,
so,
my family's from Illinois.
Oh, well, but you, I think you have to be here to know what I mean, because everyone who comes here pronounces that as Illinois with the S, and the S is silent. What right now?
Well, it's French.
I said no. I don't feel tribal to Illinois. I want out.
Somebody
me too.
Spoken.
Me too. Let's go.
Okay.
Somebody said it on me and Rhino's podcast the other day, and neither one of us corrected them. I remember hearing it, and I was like, "Oh, you said S at the end of Illinois." I don't really care though.
So no Illini pride.
Didn't even correct them.
It's less of a thing than it used to be, but it's something that all I'm saying is that I hear it pretty easily. Like it's like, oh, they said, like it's a trigger in your brain. Like, oh, they said it wrong. It's like normal. You're expecting it. So when we had the Mendo Dope Boys down here from California at the Keefe Canna Fest, they said Illinois more times than I can remember hearing someone say in like forever. But they got a mic saying it.
Yeah, I heard it on their microphone. I'm like, well, that's cool. They said it with an S.
Did they? They said Illinois.
Many times, yeah. I was like, come on, tell them.
But then again, I'm like kind of like grassroots or Alan was. I moved around, well, for not military, for different reasons. I went to like 7 or 8 different grade schools, one high school, so that was cool. But I didn't have a lot of tribalists, and my dad pretty much raised me by himself. So it was kind of, I've always been kind of a lone wolf. Now I'm a true-blooded American. When you say American, that's when I feel tribal.
Right.
I do have Indian in me. I wish I was, I guess a little bit more prideful in that feeling, but and just as far as being, I just like to be loving, kind, and supportive to every person I come in contact with. I'd go help a stranger in a crisis or any, whether it's a neighbor or not, and a lot of us I think would, but just in general, and I try to give everybody a chance, but some people will show their true colors, and I just pray for them.
Now, those of us that are from small towns, do you have a tribalistic feeling or tribal, towards your school you graduated from? Because I am very partial to the school. I went to school there my whole life, from elementary, kindergarten until I graduated high school. I was there my whole life, and I am very, very partial to that school. I love that school. I still support it 100%. I'm 42 years old. I graduated 20 plus years ago.
Not
but
really.
I mean, when stuff happens with that school, I still feel affected with it. What's that?
More so here than I would my old high school. Cheeseheads, stuff like that. But I don't know. I graduated and I got through, but I was a partier, long hair stoner. I didn't really didn't care for high school much. College was pretty cool, but
I still my teachers of the past, I have gone to their funerals, and stuff like that. I enjoyed school. I loved high school. It was easy for me. I made a lot of money in school.
I might feel tribalism towards the opposition of my high school. I didn't enjoy my high school very much either.
But
you know what I mean?
My graduation class was 150 people, so we knew everybody. We knew the families. It wasn't.
See, I had 500 in my freshman class, so it was pretty big. We had buildings that went from A to S, and it was a huge campus, more than most in Illinois, Belleville East, and. But I mean, we had our
500 in our whole school.
Back then, I was kind of tribal because we had our crew, that we hung around.
Yeah,
but, and there's still a select few that I grew up with that I still talk to. See a couple of them this past weekend. But
a lot of people don't know Rhino was one of those boys in that movie Stand By Me. That was Rhino.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you said earlier, that your clique was your, that was your tribe back then.
Mine was the
group
team
that you hung out with. That was your clique, and that was your tribe.
Mine would have been the basketball team if I had one. I played basketball 3 out of the 4 years. So,
see, that's where I'm more partial to my boys' high school, because I coached basketball and football feeder teams to that high schools and coached them in through there. So I'm very partial to my kids' high school because it was so many years of all of our lives. It was way better than my high school. Well, I don't know. I was kind of cool in high school. I had a good time.
Lisa May, sure.
I was the plug. So I got.
That's where my shit came from. I couldn't remember.
I got real well with everybody.
You were supplying the whole football team, Steve-O.
It just made it easier. But and like I said, a lot of we were talking about it the other day is nothing against teachers nowadays, because there are still the teachers that care 100%, but teaching was different back when we were younger. A lot of teachers, the caring mattered, and it showed, and you were allowed to care. Nowadays, the teacher cares too much, and they get accused of something right off the bat. I had teachers pick me up from home, and no, you're coming to school. You ain't dropping out. We nowadays, if a teacher picked a child up from home, oh my God, they're having a relationship together. Oh my God, what's going on with them?
You can be sued for it by the parents.
Yeah,
And the teacher. And we're not allowed to do that because teachers can be out and out sued. Like if you get in a car accident or whatever, I mean, it just opens up a can of worms of liability. The world we live in now, but I care about my kids, and my kids know I care, and I get after them. Like, you know, I have some little butt nuggets right now, and it's like I tell them, they know I'm straight up with them. Dude, you're not turning in your work. You've got a bunch of zeros. How do you expect you're going to be taking this class again next year, dude?
What grade do you teach?
I teach 10th graders and seniors. I teach
you got
principles.
You got high schoolers too.
Yeah, I love high school. You wouldn't catch me doing elementary school.
Yeah.
I was actually almost senior class president. I lost by 1 vote, and I had hair, you know, way down my shoulder. I had all my. There was actually one guy walking around handing out joints saying, "Vote for Bruce, vote for Bruce." But I don't know. A lot of people say it was rigged because they didn't want the toner in there, but I voted for the other guy. Is the funny part of it.
Your one vote might have counted.
Bro.
Damn, Melanie. You got
somebody. Yeah. Does any?
I was the only graduate in my class.
Well, I can go back down.
I can sit out for a minute.
You were the only graduate.
I'm gonna jump off. I'm gonna jump off.
Guys, I'm getting tired.
One.
I'm getting tired, guys. I'm gonna go to bed, so I'll pop down.
Later, brother. And by the way, Brian, that shit was good.
Oh, okay. You like it? Cool. All right. I gotta get wait.
That movie that you rented from him, awesome stuff, man. Awesome.
Peace, bro.
Have a good night.
Movie, that was a great movie.
Much love, guys.
See you later.
All right, see you.
Good night, guys.
Good night, brother. All right,
you guys don't know this, but Rasta bakes bread, everyone, and he sent Ty some awesome bread.
Great bread. Delicious.
My mom used to have one of those like contraptions, man, that would make the big loaf. It'd be like a giant square loaf of bread, like this.
Yeah.
I need to turn a light on.
Oh yeah,
He
that
does
shit
it.
was good.
He does it in a pan in the oven, though, man. That shit is
good.
delicious.
Blueberry bread.
Sourdough bread.
Two questions to
I actually
post.
bought my
Actually,
mom one
three.
for Christmas.
I have 3 things to post. Grassroots, before you leave, Alan. I'm sorry. He says Alan now. I was like, I always like had it. I'm one of those people. It's like if someone uses a name, I'm not gonna. I try not to bust them out as much as possible. But do you think the internet would have helped you with Facebook or whatever, or Rasta? I could ask him too. When you're moving around all the time and stuff, you could have ended up having a tribe or a group of friends, no matter what group, wherever you went to. So in that respect, some of those things can be helpful to kids, but it also could be harmful because kids can get into the wrong clicks.
No, it's funny you say that because there was a young lady that I went to middle school with. We lived in Guam together, and not a very big place, but 7th grade, and 8th grade, we were really tight. Black female, white male, but the really bond between us is our parents were in the Navy. We both lived on the base together. And kind of back then in Guam, they didn't like whites or blacks because they thought we were taking over the island. The military was. So the whites and the blacks really were together. And then you had like the Filipino gangs and you had the Chamorro gangs and you had all this craziness going on. But she actually reached out to me like 2 weeks ago and she was like, "Hey, are you Albie?" She used to call me Albie Sure because he was one of the upcoming singers back in our time. And she said, "Nickname Albie Sure." And I'm like, "Who is this?" And I looked real close and I looked at her face and I'm like, "Connie, holy crap." So, I mean, instantly I felt like that tribe, that oneness with them again because it had been so long,
That's awesome.
Hey, Valerie, do they speak a different language on Guam? Some people are going to think I'm stupid for asking that. I know, but
I want to too, so I'll be stupid with you.
Guamanese, I believe. I'm not.
No, they speak. There's a lot of Filipinos. They speak Tagalog, and then the local Guamanians, they speak what they call as Chamorro, which is almost like a Filipino kind of a dialect. Almost, it's kind of like their own language.
But since she was on a base, I'm sure they spoke English. Probably
that's all we spoke on the base was English, pretty much. Yeah.
That's interesting to know, man. Look at you rattling that off. You smart as hell. That's
My
pretty
daughter-
impressive to know that. I mean, ain't that right? You know, that's
My
pretty
daughter lived there for 2 years. She was married to, or her mother was married to a guy in the military. They lived there
That'd be
for
a good show for us, Waylon.
It's a beautiful
What would?
place.
Military, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Military life as children, military life as in the military. It'd be a good show. We can do it.
Like, do you know anyone in your family who was in? Yeah, I mean, we've sort of touched a little bit, but yeah, I guess that.
My father was in the military.
Yeah, that would be good. I could see that. So a lot of us have family history for sure. Like, if you look into it, you probably
Yeah,
do.
right.
Yes, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, your opinion on it. I mean, yeah, the draft, all of that. Yeah, it's a good
Well,
shout out.
26 years for my dad.
Speaking of tribalism, and not necessarily military, but we think of the police. A lot of us have a lot of problem with the police, but think about what happens when you're in a tight knit group of people. Think about what Alan just said. When you're the one group of people and everyone around you giving you the stink eye, like the police would be for the most part. We might not admit it, but most of us tense up around them. Most of us are walking around on eggshells around, like or saying or the opposite and just being like fuck off pig, like things like that. So
Get savvier food.
my point is that imagine the tribalism that happens from the band, that you form, the bond you form amongst the other guys wearing the same thing you're wearing day in and day out. No one has variety in the uniform. Like, yeah, okay, maybe you got your detective wearing like the sweet leather jacket or whatever, or like maybe the what was that old what was that detective that wore like the yellow suit?
Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy. Like, who's wearing that anyway?
He was like,
like in my drift, like when you're wearing like the same thing in the military, you'd get shifted around different units and things would happen. Like, you would still feel that bond, but it's a different bond. You don't have a bond over someone else who controls people with you, like you would from like a correctional officer. It might be a similar bond to a police officer, because a police officer is in control of people. In the military, we had very few moments where that was the case. You got military police. We had our own checkpoints versus like the native population, where we might be able to say something, give a command to them or something like that. But that's different than like every day walking amongst your fellow citizens and also being in some sort of a power mode above them, even though maybe that's not what we intend to have happen. But that whole dynamic to me is like, it's tough. It's a hard position from both angles, because almost any of us would form this sort of a protective bond with your fellow. You're in or you're out. Every cop movie where like the one outstanding cop, he's gonna get ousted by the other ones because he's not in on the take or whatever it is. My point, like
there's
it's
good
all
cops and there's bad cops. I respect all of them, but when they're bullshitting
I agree.
enough, then
no, I don't disagree. I'm just saying that we've all mentioned a bunch of situations where tribalism starts to happen and we don't like it, right? Well, we don't give that, so we don't afford that same not courtesy, but we don't afford that same leeway to police when we talk about, oh, those damn police. Like, well, imagine that the pressure of tribalism coming in that situation. Like, they have to probably try pretty hard not to. I think the only way around that is if you kept like moving people around, but then you wouldn't know you're the officer next to you half the time. Like, that doesn't work out well either, So I'm just saying.
Well, I'm gonna hop off. I appreciate you having me on tonight, but I want to leave you guys with just one maybe posing question y'all can talk about when I get off of here. But what happens when you're with a tribe and that tribe no longer meets where you see yourself going in the next 5 or 10 years? How do you break away from that tribe cleanly? Can you break away from that tribe cleanly? And then what does that look like? Because there's a transformation that has to take place. So I think a lot of times you get into this clique, you get into these tribes, and we're there because we feel comfortable. But sometimes being comfortable isn't what life's about. Sometimes growing and stretching is what we have to do. And sometimes leaving tribes or people that you're familiar with in order to go and do whatever it is that your heart is telling you to do, that's a hard part. Because when you're counting on a tribe that's been with you for years and years and years, they've got your back. But then once you leave and you're no longer in a tribalistic mentality that you're not doing what they're doing anymore because you're trying to better yourself, that's a hard pill to swallow. So talk about that. I love all of you guys. I appreciate you guys for having me, and peace out from Virginia.
Have
It was great meeting you too, man.
So I think with his question there, with that statement, that goes into a little bit of a gang mentality. You got your Hells Angels, you got your Crips, you got your Bloods. You know,
No, it's got to do with you personally in life too. Because if the people around you are doing stuff and you don't want to be doing what they're doing, or you're not into that no more, even with drugs, you got to separate yourself from that.
Right. Yeah.
Even family. I mean, that same example you use, I've had to do it. I've had to just stop talking and dealing and associating with family, blood, to better my life.
Everybody.
Well, his question makes me think of religion and how a lot of people decide they don't believe it's religion they were brought up in, and so they have to.
That's me. That's why I walked away from religion in 2016 against
That's
the
all.
Yeah,
thing of my own mother.
I was taught it coming up.
That's also
but,
me.
Like the world just makes you want to turn away from it and not believe any of the.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. The world didn't make me turn away. Study did. Study of history and things surrounding the time period.
You're like in between.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we doing religion now too. Shit.
No, I don't want to. I'm not religious. I'm just saying. That's all I was saying. Not religion.
What do you mean? It fits. It fits, man. It fits.
Tribalism is religion, but I guess the tribalism part is the part where it becomes us versus them. If something becomes that, then it becomes tribalistic.
And I think to some sense that it is always an us versus them in some sense, some degree, because there's only a finite amount of space eventually and whatnot. So that's why, like Dan and others, we like watching these space launches and things like that, because what's going to happen? I like to watch this guy Isaac Arthur on YouTube. He's a futurist, and so what he'll do is he'll take what we current capability of man, and he sort of extrapolates into different thoughts, like different theories. So one theory is like, what if we populated the moon? And this is interesting because he thinks it through, and he always goes on both sides, and it's something that I like to do. And he says the people that are on the side of the moon, that whenever they come out of their dome every day or whatever, when they come out of their bedroom and they look up, they see the Earth every day. You think 100 years later or whatever, generations later, they're used to seeing the planet they came from, right? And so people are like, would it be the eventually be the moon versus the Earth, right? No, wrong. What would happen is it would be the moon versus the moon, because you'd have people living on the dark side of the moon. Okay, what I say that pretty for sure, but anyway, it makes sense. He says the dark side of the moon, people every day for generations to come out, they don't see the Earth, and nobody's traveling to the other side of the moon for leisure, once people are living up there. So like you're going to be generations without seeing. So there different tribes or different ideologies are going to form on different sides of the moon. And it makes a lot of sense that there's going to be, and they would end up being like two continents or two countries or whatever that fight amongst each other on the moon. And that's kind of interesting just because of the perspective. One side having the Earth in view, the other side not. It's very interesting to think about, like, because generations can change. Like, what are we even fighting for? Like the World War II, like a few generations from now, no one's going to know or care. Don't know, don't care. World War who? World War what? II? Okay. It's going to be eventually it'll be like, what? Where?
That's kind of why the younger generation, I feel, has no interest in history.
Yeah, and I like history. I think there's certain types of person that likes history. I think Kim is a history buff too, and it's like you
They just don't. But they don't.
Doomed to repeat it.
But in today's world,
I think there's a problem in the way that history has been taught for a long time. I have a lot of criticisms about it.
So do I.
Yeah.
And what I study is what people might call controversial history because they don't know any better. But I got a lot of problems with the way history is taught as well in the school systems.
Well,
hard
it's
to
not
know.
even, it's not so much like just the school systems. It's hard to teach. It's hard to teach history because history, I mean, yesterday is history. And so there's an acknowledged way of teaching it systematically so that you, God, I don't even know how to explain it, that you hit like all the main things. And first of all, there's a collective body of knowledge, first of all. And when you talk about teaching here in the United States, I mean, when you teach history, history is always taught from the victor's viewpoint. So it leaves out
Correct.
it leaves out a lot of stuff. You know,
Correct.
like we don't have any we have very few Native American voices when we teach history, you know, and that's a big part of American history, but a lot of it is left out, and Native American voices are left out. So we don't have much of their perspective to go on when we teach it. But, you know, it's very hard to teach history because it's a very large body of knowledge. You know, when I go to teach world history, the last time my students as sophomores get world history is in 6th grade. Middle schoolers don't learn jack shit in middle school. Their brains are just not capable of learning at that age. There's just too many things that go on in middle school. And so, you know, there's not a lot of learning that happens. But, you know, one of the things that I do is I go back to the fall of Rome, because in order to understand, and I think I've said this on here somewhere before, in order to understand why we have the explorers out in the world, these Portuguese and Spanish and Dutch and whoever else out in the world, is because of, you know, the whole fall of Rome. Rome falls, and, you know, the Muslims come in and they take over all those lands where they were trading for, going down the Silk Road, trading for everything. And they can no longer go that way because Christians and Muslims don't get along. So you've got to find a new route, and that opened up exploration, which led to Christopher Columbus coming here and a whole bunch of shit. So you can't understand world history until you understand that Rome fell and what a huge impact the fall of Rome was on the world.
Can I say this about you? I don't know you just from this show, but I just gained a lot more appreciation and respect for you just from what you just said, because you know your facts, and I like that.
Thank you. Oh, I'm a very factual person. I'm a Sagittarius, so it's like I want the real stuff, you know. And most people aren't taught this. We're not taught European history because European history is European history. It's not American history, and we're taught American history here.
Not till at least maybe on a collegiate level.
Yeah, and even at a collegiate level, you get a smattering because it's a European history is super duper complex, and it's thousands of years of all kinds of junk.
Yep.
Are you familiar with the classical form of education?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you familiar with the classical form of education? It's actually the way you teach, and it's a classical approach to education. So they actually teach world history to 2nd and 3rd graders, and they actually have like 1st through 6th graders all in one class. They teach them all like the same subject, and the older students teach the younger children. So it works really well. And we have one in our town, and they actually teach world history to 2nd and 3rd graders. So
that's cool. That's a very early start in comparison to most schools.
Yeah, well, they have it with the older students. They said the older students help the younger kids understand it. So when they teach it like in a group like that with the older kids, it really works more effectively. And then the younger kids go up to the older kids and learn the same thing over and over again, and then help the younger kids.
I like that.
I call that kid teach. I like using kid teach because a lot of the times, you know, as an adult, especially if you're educated in a particular discipline, you understand things at a really complex level. And a lot of people are not able to take that complexity of thought and break it down into ways that younger or less educated minds are able to grasp a hold of. But kids that get it can take it and they can break it down because, you know, they're closer at that level of being able to explain it. So I like Kid Teach.
It seems to be on the rise because this school just doubled their population in 1 year in my town, and they're teaching this form of education where they intermingle all the students together and kind of teach them world history.
I think they're kind of doing something like that with both of my daughters because my older teenage daughter is supposed to start teaching at my younger daughter's school.
It's a private academy. It's called Ole Miss Academy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There's movements that happen in education, and one of the things has been to instead of it being more of a top-down kind of a model of education, is really recognizing that you have students that come into your class that have strengths, just like, you know, that have strengths, and to utilize those strengths. Because, you know, me as the teacher, I don't have all the knowledge. You know, used to, before the internet, teachers were the epitome of knowledge. Like we knew everything, but, you know, now we have the internet and teachers don't know everything. You know, nobody knows everything. And so, you know, it's recognizing that the kids come into your classes with strengths. You know, they've got their own learning styles. They've got strengths, and teachers really should, you know, it's really recognizing that teachers need to allow those kids to utilize their strengths and not be threatened by it.
I want to speak. You was talking about the complication of Europeans' history. Waylon kind of touched on it earlier when he was talking about, you know, the British Isles, and I said something about it. I think it was called the heptarchy, coming from the Greek word hepta, which means seven, and there was like 7 established kingdoms with 7 different kings, which were actually Germanic people. That's another story altogether. But that shows the complication in just right there in the British Isles of European history, let alone the whole rest of it, which is long and complicated.
Well, it's actually. Are you out of here?
Yeah.
Good night.
See you later.
Like, okay, you guys are talking history. I'm out of here. Run the hell out of me. Yeah, you know, what was I gonna say?
Cheers, everybody. Let's do it. It's 7:10 somewhere.
I'm rolling.
I probably won't stay here too much longer either. I came up to tell you guys you were my tribe.
That's what I'm talking about. This can of family is what I call it.
Yeah. Ain't no family like the one I got right here. Yep.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier, is that when we say I make my own family or whatever, you're making your tribe, yes, and it's in that sense you're a family, but I think it's a more of a colloquial term or use of the word. And so that's what I think we say when we're like, yeah, you know, you're my family now. Like when we say we love one another, or I say I love you, it's not because I don't think that you're ever going to do me wrong. It's because I think you are another human being like I am, trying to get through this, you know, craziness thing that we call life. And I don't, who am I to like assume negative intent like we saw on Ash's Motivational Monday the other day. Is like, let's don't assume negative intent. We have text messaging where you just hear emotion when you're reading text, which is a very strange thing. Not here, but you feel emotion that sometimes you attribute to people when they text something to you, and you're like, oh yeah, like, I mean, it's so funny though. Do you guys think that we're actually developing? Do you think that we're actually reading that correctly most of the time? I think most of us would think that we are individually.
No, because we have.
You guys all think that you're actually reading
everybody interprets stuff differently.
Well,
we didn't have texting 100 years ago. We haven't caught up with evolution.
I personally experienced where I took stuff the wrong way, and people have taken what I've said in the text the wrong way, like totally opposite of what I meant it type thing.
Yeah, our brains weren't meant to do that.
Unfortunately, we don't use punctuation like we're supposed to.
Yeah, that would help.
We've gotten straight away from punctuation, gotten away from spelling, grammar errors, and all of that. I don't remember any of the thing that I was taught in English class. I'm sorry. This,
I
there,
do.
there. I don't know which one means what one, nope, don't know, don't care, don't correct me, don't
I
matter.
remember some
You
of it,
know
and I
what I'm
remember
trying to
my teacher
say,
hitting our
so-
hands with the ruler too.
Right, it's just one of them things. But so in a text message, punctuation and grammar could really matter.
Yeah, it's true. Very true.
My emojis. Everybody uses emojis instead.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I know people that go the other way and they send voice messages a lot.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
I like those, except for the fact that my phone's audio is screwed up, so I always have to get my Bluetooth out and put them on in order to hear someone's voice message to me. But I still would prefer it. It's like, oh, I can hear their inflections, I can hear their enthusiasm about this said thing, whatever it is. Sometimes you hear some people will text you something enthusiastically, but really not be. Like, how often do you type LOL when there's no way in hell that you laughed at whatever?
Right, true,
Like,
though,
see,
true.
there was a real
but
LOL right
LOL
there.
just is a snicker. That's not a laugh. That's like, yep. All right.
And you know what's just as quick as sending a text is a voice message. You can just you can say it, and then they
That's what he was talking about. Yeah.
your tone, your intent. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Waylon, yeah.
I call
That's
it.
what I do. That's what I do. I send voice messages just for that reason, the same reason you're talking about.
That was a beast. Her post earlier, she said, "You leave me on red, I'm blocking you." I was like, "Damn!" And she straight up posted it. She's a beast.
that was like drop the mic moment right
Right. I was like, "Okay, Val, I got you."
Val
Who
I
said
had to
that?
check my
Valerie?
messenger to make sure I didn't have an unread from her. I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
Valerie said that though, for real.
Yeah, she made a post about it. I was
thought
like,
you said
"Damn."
Melanie.
Damn.
Fucking around today. She's like, leave
Right.
me on
She's
red,
like, hey, fuck around and find out. You can be blocked.
leave me on red, and you'll be found dead. To me, something like that.
Keep messing around, son.
Right. I had to go to my messenger. I was like, all right, did I get? Nope. Okay, I'm good.
So I'm thinking of. Never mind. I gotta stop. I usually get too high by the end of the episode, and I start telling you guys all my awesome plans.
Well, 3 hours with 10 people on screen the whole night. That's an amazing episode. Good topic, guys. Awesome topic tonight.
We had like 30 people in there for a little while. We have 10
Well, we've had
people.
45 reactions, so that means we've had at least 45 people in here.
There's 21 people watching right now, at least.
Man, must have been one hell of an intro today.
Steve-O, who's watching? He's been waiting. He's been holding that one in all night, huh?
I've had that one right in my hip all day. I've been waiting to put that there. There it is.
Steve-O, go check your Rumble. Go check your Rumble. Who's over there? I got 10 people hanging out on the Rumble, guys. What's going on?
That's too funny.
Are you on Discord too, Waylon?
I'm on Discord, but Discord's not a.
Shit, I got 5.
I can find new people on Discord, but if you want to match up on there.
Yeah, we need to. Send me a thing if you can. And yeah, I know it's hard as hell to get new people on there.
Yeah, it's more. I used it for gaming back when I was gaming. I'm on Kick now. Have you seen Kick? It's a lot for gaming. It's like a Twitch replacement.
Yeah, I'm not on it, but I know what it is.
What do you got?
I use Discord mainly for seeds.
Oh, nice.
I'm too scared to go on Discord.
You was what?
I'm too scared to do Discord. There's a lot of shady ass people that hang out on that one.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Never before. I never
got it.
And I know how to figure them out on Facebook, so I don't need another medium to try and figure all that crap out.
I heard a boot.
Boop, boop, boop.
I got it.
I got on there because all these genetic companies all have a Discord, and it's one easy way to get a hold of them for my beans. Yeah.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, yeah. I see a lot of people are doing that now, especially like big streamers will do a Discord for like a more intimate setting that they can talk chat with their audience or whatever it is.
The restrictions that Facebook have are not there. So
My God,
that's the big
Facebook's on a
thing.
tear again this week.
Oh, you're telling me? I got Monday. I got booted out of my account right as I went live. So my locations on Facebook booted. Luckily this time they didn't make me make a new password. I just had to verify who I was real quick while I was live. And then if that wasn't good enough, the next day I come in and I made a group. You all know this. You might have heard me bitch about it earlier. I know Steve-O hears me repeat these things. But the next day, Tuesday, right as I go live, I get a restriction for 6 days from interacting in groups, because in my own group that I made specifically to do this, I hit an at everyone in my own group that is only made for that purpose. And then they said something about, community standards and a 6-day ban. So I can't comment in groups. I can go live in groups. I'm live in a group right now, but I can't type in a comment in that group. So stupid.
Yep.
Well, I put out
Did you appeal it?
I did a giveaway post in my group today, and what they were supposed to do is they were supposed to post a screenshot of tags in another group. So they posted the screenshot of the tags on my giveaway post, and they got a restriction for sexually explicit content.
It's random stuff.
And I was like, shit. What the heck?
So we were talking about corporations earlier owning the world. We were talking about corporations are sort of owning everything. Well, think about Facebook and think about these restrictions. A lot of times my videos get restricted for music that is 100% fine in America. It's like there's 57 countries that you never heard of that, are restricting that music. And it'd be like my intro music that I paid for or whatever, or it's music that I know is fine. So I have to dispute it. I dispute those. Yeah. I couldn't dispute this other one. There's no dispute for it. It just, Melanie.
That's why I ask you if you appeal.
My phone's overheating, so I'm going to say goodnight.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap up as well.
Okay.
I want to talk about game night though a little bit. All right, Melanie. Melanie, maybe we'll see you this. I don't know if you get some AC by then, but we'll get you up there for sure. But thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, if not, I'll see you guys next Thursday.
All right.
Bye.
Find some AC. Good night. But yeah, we want to get somebody up there this week that hasn't played. So definitely let me know, guys, if you want to play in game night. So
I'll play. I was going to show up last weekend, but I got somebody stopped in at my house like about 10 minutes before everything started. So
well, let me put you. I have a running list, and if I can put you on the list,
just let me know.
It gives me like a next person to hit up if that last person, because this isn't something that I think people are going to want to get out of line for. They're not going to want to miss their spot, I don't think.
Jason, the amount of sponsors that you're going to be having, it's definitely a great one for people to get up and play.
And there's more this week too. Actually, Dan, speaking of which, I need to go get the bag. Went to True Healthcare and Wellness, one of our awesome sponsors, and got a bunch of stuff. Thank you again, Wes. And I was talking to them about Dan. Actually, Dan, we'll talk about that later if you want. They need some more mushrooms in their life over there at True Healthcare. But the other thing is they gave me a whole bag full of goodies. So Dan has to pick out a prize from last weekend that he won. And then I got to ship that plus the other box to you. So he sent me with some grill bags and some trimmers and some I forget what they're called, but they're smell-proof bags. They're not like grill bags. They're like these. I don't know. It looks like a little shower bag, but it's a smell-proof bag.
Smell-proof. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some stuff. Valerie, you are not on the list yet. So Kim and Valerie.
Nice. It's good. It's filling up now. What do you got? 2 left now?
What do you mean 2 left?
2 spots left now? after
Oh
these
no!
guys.
Right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people on the list. And that's not counting the people that have already played. Jason, I'm assuming you want to be back in the next
Oh
one too.
yeah, I'm up every Sunday. I'm there, buddy. I got you.
Okay, so that means I don't know if you guys can see this. There's an empty space in the middle. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots more of new players that can be put in here before the first crew gets to play again. Anybody? So Dan, do you want to play again? Dan, are you?
To be on the spot. Sunday.
Well, did you play last week? Yeah, you played last week.
I did.
So you won't be able to play until after the next 8 or after this. You won't be able to play for 3 weeks. It's basically that simple. So I'll put you on the list. You can always, and anybody on the list can always skip. Just let me know. Hey, I'm not coming tonight or whatever. That's really all I need. Because it's a big difference now, man. Like we're talking hundreds of dollars of stuff each time. It's crazy. And it's only getting bigger. Doctor suck hard. Wow, Valerie, what happened to the doctor?
Dr.
Bobber,
Suckhard is his name?
Bobber, I grabbed your butt, brother. Brought you in. You want to come up for a minute? Let us know. You can get a link.
Bobber. What up, Bobber? Bobber Boucher.
Bobbert's a glass blower, right?
Yes.
He
I'm down
is
to 10%,
starting to
guys,
be
so
a
I do
glass
got to
blower,
hop
yeah.
out of here. But I love all y'all. Great topic tonight. Great episode, everybody. Very nice talking with you all. So can't
Later,
wait to see you
Jason.
again, guys.
Have a good one, Jason.
See you later.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
All
Bobber is starting his glass blowing career.
Nice.
Yeah, didn't we meet him
Send it.
at the Herbal Essence event?
Yes.
We did.
Yeah.
We got pictures with him.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a cool fucking guy, man. He had that hand crank heat press that for raffle that I had my eyeball on. I had 2 spots in it too.
Yeah.
I think I might have got one too. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you got one too. I remember.
Blessed be, Donna. Thank you very much. Now the Haro experience of finding a halfway decent doctor. Yeah, that is depending on where you are in the country. It's like you just are in deserts. Like I know it's totally off topic, but the Mess was talking to me about how he does open mic night in a comedy club, but it's the closest one to him is 40 minutes away, and I was like, damn. I was like, I got a comedy club like within probably 15 minutes. And I'm like, I assume that everybody would have one somewhat nearby, but you don't think about that. And I don't mean just comedy clubs, but just in general. Like I used to live half an hour from the nearest grocery store, and it's like that's. And there's a lot of people that live way further away than that. But depending on where you're at, you just can't go and try a different doctor. Like in Val's situation, you can't just. I don't like this doctor. I'm going to try the next one. You don't always have enough,
There's a holistic doctor in Carthage, Illinois. If you're near there,
she is
it's
not
pretty rare to find a holistic doctor. So he gave me
doctor.
that business card at the farmer's market.
Wonder if there's any what do you call it? Not spice shops, herbal shops. There's another word for it. Apothecary. Apothecary.
He said he had to go to like 6 years of extra schooling to learn on top of his medicine to learn about holistic medicine. So he's got
Steve-o, we need to build
schooling.
Steve-o, we need to start you an apothecary, bro. We're gonna get you. You're gonna be the apothecary. We'll get you a cool wizard hat, right? We're gonna have like some dry ice back behind the counter that's like sitting in some warm water or whatever.
Heck yeah. Give him a big long Gandalf pipe, smoke out of.
Fucking hey, yeah, I would be like, this is the certified apothecary. You'll find Maccabee's microgreens. You'll find Dan the Man's Great River mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna find you can buy a grow fan box here at this tier, certified apothecary.
And find a doctor.
I can hardly wait until Mr. Burns gets a hold of that.
The mad scientist, yeah. Because actually, you know what? On the game, come back to the game for a second. I have Sir Stevo, the wizard, hanging out with Ash Grows, the wizard. In most instances. Let's see if I can pull it up.
Who's got John Lennon sunglasses on? Are you talking about mine?
Oh, we lost Ty.
Uh-oh.
He can boot right back if he gets his phone back.
I don't know what color John Lennon's sunglasses are. Are they red?
I think they mean Elton John. So you got, Ash hanging out there, about to hop on the certified ferry ride, right?
Yeah.
And then on each one of them, I got Ash like at the end there with you, hanging out. It's two wizards. It's two wizards doing their thing, whizzing.
I was gonna say, are they wizarding?
Just two wizards
Are
whizzing.
they whizzing?
Wizarding.
Those kind of sunglasses.
I got a cap in the boat though, so I'm all business over there. I don't know.
You look like you're a transformer. You're part of the boat. Like I used to watch this kid as a kid. I used to watch this kid as a cartoon. I watched this cartoon as a kid. But it was these people that could turn into cars. Like they weren't transformers, but they were people that could turn into cars.
Oh shit.
I forget what it was called, but what's the thing? That's a fat doobie you got there, Steve-O.
Well, thank you. That's what she said.
Do you see what he's?
Let me see your doobie. I didn't see your doobie.
See what you're saying? Do you see what Sir Steve-O's saying there, guys? This game is certified.
Look at that doobie.
Okay, there's Bobby Boucher, I believe.
Got that Bobby Boucher. Bobby boy, mama said devil's lettuce is for the devil.
What's up, brother?
Medulla oblongata dab right here. I'm about to do.
Yeah. How you guys doing this evening?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
My mama said alligators is only because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
I hate to do this, but I gotta get going, man.
That's okay. I'm wrapping things up, Steve-O. Let's wrap it up here.
It's 11:11.
Game night is the next.
Make a wish. Make a wish.
Yeah, sorry, Bobber. We're just pulling you up, and now we gotta go.
11:11. Two peace signs.
All right, guys. Well, I'm glad you guys got to see me.
Yeah, we're glad to, bro. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging
out.
We're wrapping her up.
All right, later, guys.
Yeah, we are over the 3 hour and 10-minute mark. So.
Well, look what I caused. Oh shit!
I need to go do my annual bowl outside in the darkness. For my nightly bowl.
Darkness bowl, okay.
No, I usually smoke a bowl outside before I go to bed. It's nice. I like the darkness.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We need to get going. It's 11.
I wasn't
thinking, man. I just want to, never want to stop the party, I guess, But we have hit the topic pretty good tonight, guys. So thank you all thank you the ones that have been hanging out the whole time. I know there's a bunch of you now that are just hardcore. We definitely had a big showing on Rumble tonight. That was nice. And everybody else who participated, thank you, Kim. Thanks everybody for disagreeing. Thank you for the perspective and everything. And Dan, thanks for the topic. Steve-O, thanks for doing the intro. Then maybe we'll get Dan next week or someone, Rasta, whoever.
I wish I would have read more. I forgot the part of this book that had to do with tribalism. I would have read it, but I haven't read the book in a year or so, so I don't exactly remember.
It was interesting what you brought to the table, though, with that book, Dan. That was really cool of you.
Yeah.
Don Miguel Ruiz has a lot of really good books. If you guys ever get a chance, I've read a lot of his stuff over the years.
Yeah, a lot of good lessons in there about life and love, as they say.
I was very, very fortunate back I guess it's been 25 years or so ago now, to get to work with a Native American shaman. As a white person, you don't get that opportunity very much. But like Waylon was saying earlier, you know, I'm one of these people that, like, I don't have a set group. I just kind of, I get along with everybody. I get accepted into places that a lot of people don't get accepted into. And that's kind of how I fell into the whole Native American thing. And I got to study under a shaman for quite a few years. I did sweat lodges regularly for many, many years. I did a vision quest. And I didn't do it through a white person. It was through Native American. And it's very uncommon for a white person, like I said, to get accepted like that into it. So I just have tremendous respect for the Native American way. I wish white people were more like that. They're very.
It must have been quite an experience. Thank you
Yeah,
again.
it was. But Don Miguel Ruiz is a really, he's his writings. I don't know if he's alive anymore because he was an older guy.
His son reads the audiobook. I listen to an audiobook mostly, but his son actually reads the audiobook part of it.
Yeah, he's a Nagual, which is more of a Aztec, I think, word for a shaman or a healer.
Yeah, but, crazy book. Like some of the stories about how he controlled animals is really intriguing. So
yeah,
how shamans control animals.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you two guys can talk about that. We're gonna get going, y'all.
I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired.
I'm going to bed too.
Have a good night, everybody. Steve,
Right. Good night.
Was I fading away? Is that what was that?
You're fading away now.
Fading
away.
Everyone's fading.
Steve, I've been sitting there watching you all night and just kind of like giggling back here, my own little observations. You looked like you were all fucked up, dude. I was like, he's stoned.
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody's got, you know, there's 10 people, so many people have so many, like, real legit, like, intelligent things to say. And, I mean, I'm just sitting there going, bopping back and forth, and I couldn't get a word in if I wanted to anyway for a minute there. It was great listening. It was great listening.
It was intense there for a second, I guess, but
It's
not
no
too much.
problem.
We've had these moments before, and it works out nicely, I think.
It was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Steve, I'll put us to bed. Don't start a new conversation. Let's get it moving.
Good thinking. Well, thanks everybody for coming in tonight. Love y'all, and
love you too, bro.
We'll see you guys later.
Smoke weed every day.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.